Welcome to the Saturday Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin. Tammy McManus is with me. We've got lots to look forward to and discuss as we reach half-time in the Scottish Premiership matches. We'll also look at what's happening in the lower leagues in Scotland as well as the English Premier League 2. So Tam's here with us. Ross County 0, Rangers 2 was the first match of the afternoon. An early kick-off up at Dingwall. Rangers looked comfortable enough, Tam.
Yeah, I think it's a tricky tie in the middle of two enormous games for Rangers. Obviously a tough game during the week against PSV at home, and then they've got to travel over there the beginning of next week. So, listen, went up there, professional job, kept a clean sheet, which I think will please the manager, and particularly Tavernier's goal, which was a screamer. And then Kamar Roof coming back, adds to his options up front as well. So all in all, good day for Rangers, good 3 points. And they can come back down the road and concentrate on a big one against PSV.
Yeah, I think under normal circumstances, you're saying to yourself, everybody's been talking about it, what's at stake here. Michael Beale knows every game, potentially, there's a banana skin there. He's just got to keep everybody in that focus of where Rangers and Celtic have to be, which is keep winning.
Yeah, listen, we spoke about it last week. It's a big 2 weeks for them. You've got the Champions League qualifiers, you've got a game against Celtic on the horizon at home. So this was a game that they couldn't afford to slip up. They couldn't afford to. You would expect Celtic to beat St Johnstone today, so you couldn't, afford to go 6 points behind Celtic before that Old Firm game at Ibrox. So, listen, take one game at a time, get 3 points, put that to the back burner, concentrate on PSV, put that to the back burner, and then you've got the big one against Celtic. So it could be a great week for Rangers.
Yeah, what a massive bonus, Kamar Roof, because it's 16 months. It's a long time since he started a game for Rangers, and I think he's repaid the manager's faith initially.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt in his ability, Peter. I think when he's been fit, who can forget the goal was against Standley Edge for the halfway. It shows his ability, to plunge it out the goal is a great goal for him. And I just think he's got to keep himself fit, Peter. And if he can keep himself fit, he's a big player for Rangers, but he's been injured constantly. He's had problems with his calves. I think if Michael Beale can keep him in the straight and narrow and keep him fit, then it's another great option for him, amongst other options he's got up front.
Yeah, up at Dingwall, Patrick Mullen watched that game for us. Patrick, were you impressed by what you witnessed from Rangers this afternoon?
Afternoon, chaps. Yeah, it was a very comfortable day for Michael Beale's side. They were completely dominant, to put it frank, for the entire 90 minutes. That first half, they looked strong. And they put 2 goals in the back of the net. That one that Tavernier scored was just an absolute screamer, to be honest. They comfortably passed through the second half, where Ross County did come back a slight bit, but they never really troubled them in the back.
Any other country in the world, when you see a goal of that quality, they'd be raving about it forever, Patrick. I mean, Tavernier, it was absolutely top drawer.
It really was like top drawer. Lammers is on the right-hand side. He's in acres of space, and everyone behind me is thinking, he's got to pass it out to him, and he'll whip it in. He goes, absolutely not. I'm on my own, and he just whips it into the top left-hand corner. It really was quite special to see.
How important is it, that clean sheet? Because everybody's starting to look and think maybe Goldson and John Suter could be the partnership.
Yeah, I think it's massive for Michael Beale's men. I had John Suter as my man of the match here today. He was absolutely rock solid at the back. Nothing got through those two. And they just need to be that solid when they got the Old Firm in the Champions League. It's all about that defensive stability. Any team can score goals, but that is the thing that Rangers need to do, is keep them secure at the back.
Over the games that they played since the start of the season, do you see signs that Malky Mackay's side will not be involved on that last day issue they had last season?
Yeah, Malky Mackay spoke about that in his press conference. He was talking that 2 of their first 3 games have come up against Celtic and Rangers, and simply that's not who they're going up against this year. They know they are not the teams they're looking to beat, and I don't think they have anything to worry about. They were well beaten here today by Rangers, but they showed signs that of a normal side, quality side, they could easily get all 3 points or a point. And I think they'll be absolutely fine this year.
Yeah, okay. It's a long road down, as we know, from Dingwall, and the last thing I want is for Patrick to miss the train. So 4 questions is enough, Tam, and just in case the train starts leaving without him. Brilliant from Patrick Mullen up there at Dingwall, talking about that game today. Well, Rangers ran out 2-0 winners, and a good couple of goals there. Kemar Roof with a goal from a corner, just basically wrapping his foot around the defender, getting the contact, putting it in the back of the net. And I think when everybody starts to look at Tavernier and what he produced to get Rangers' second goal, it really is superb. Jordan White had a great chance to get a goal back for Ross County, but in these games, if you're going to give yourself a sniff, Tam, you've got to take those chances.
Yeah, you're not going to get a lot of chances against Celtic and Rangers. And listen, Ross County have been in great form recently. You know, they're scoring goals. I think they get 4 against Airdrie last week. You know, a couple against Celtic at Parkhead. You know, 2 against St Johnstone. So I think this is the first game this season that they've drew a blank. And they did create a couple of chances within the game. So yeah, you've got to take them. And Rangers, you know, once they get those 2 goals at half time, they comfortably, I thought, seen the game out in the second half, and you know, he's got minutes under the belt of guys like Roof and guys like that who can come in maybe next week. So all in all, a great day for Rangers, and as I said, they can park that and look forward to a massive game next week.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll hear from Michael Beale very shortly, and we'll also hear from Malky Mackay. So that's what we're giving you. We're giving you the immediate reaction from the games. Of course, Rangers winning 2-0, so we'll hear from both managers, and then we'll get the full-time report from the other matches in the Scottish Premiership and hear from the managers. The only one we won't hear from, of course, at the actual ground is Celtic. We are still in a dispute with Celtic. We've used as many channels as we possibly can to communicate and try and resolve the issue, but for some reason both ourselves and the BBC have been banned. Freedom of speech maybe not high on the agenda at the moment, but we will endeavour to remedy the problem. There you are. I've kept as straight a face as you can possibly wish for. I felt as if I should have put on my BBC official face there, as I said, you know. Talks have broken down. Okay. Talks haven't even started, but nevertheless, you know, if you give your opinion, I don't think in this day and age in democracy you expect to be barred, but that's the nature of it. We continue. We will try and resolve our issue with Celtic Football Club. James says a solid win for Rangers. David Gemmell says Celtic deserve what's ongoing. Rubbish because of stinking tight board, and Rangers shall win at Ibrox. They were the better team today, but the Celtic board seems to be the thing that's irking David. And you know, I mean, if I open my gob regularly as I do,
remember you're not shaking nail.
Well, the thing about it is, if I give you my honest opinion here, I could be banned until 2050. But quite simply, they're dragging their heels on half decent signings again.
Yeah, they are. I think it's proving difficult for Celtic to bring in the quality that I think they need. They've obviously been linked to Podence at Wolves, who's supposedly wanting 40 to 50 grand a week. I don't think Celtic are going to pay that to anybody, Peter, especially on a permanent. Then you're going to have to try and maybe muster up 6, 7, 8 million pound for them. It's a big outlay for Celtic to get a player in, so Celtic seem to be shopping, you know, out with that. You know, they've been linked to the Honduran winger, who I think's playing in Aris Salonika over in Greece. Yep. They've been linked with him for a couple of £1 million, and that seems to be the model. Was Brendan Rodgers sold that by Dermot Desmond and the board? Was he told he's going to be bringing in £2 or £3 million players from Norway, Sweden, Greece, or was he told he was going to be bringing in higher quality guys from maybe England or Spain or whatever? So I think if you're a Celtic fan, you're definitely concerned, especially when you look at that back 4 today. You know, if that's a back 4 that goes to Ibrox next week, I think a lot of Celtic fans will be watching the game from behind the couch, to be honest. Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking at the Celtic team: Joe Hart in goal, Johnson, Lagerbielke, Scales and Greg Taylor. That's the back 4. And then it's O'Reilly, McGregor and Turnbull, and Maeda, Kyogo and Yang up front. That's your starting 11. They've had a lot of the ball in the game against St Johnstone, but haven't been able to do anything with it. The Honduran winger you're talking about, Luis Palma, £3.5 million. That deal looks as if it's going to be done and dusted on a 4-year contract. Another winger, Peter?
My personal opinion is I think they do. Right. I don't know how often Brendan Rodgers will use James Forrest. Brendan Rodgers certainly likes James Forrest more than Ange Postecoglou did.
Tilo. Haxa.
Haksabanovic.
Yes.
Well, I like Haksabanovic. I think he's a good player.
He does. I don't think Brendan Rodgers fancies him.
Yeah, I mean the big the proof is in the pudding here. Basically,
You've got a bad on the bench. You've got boy Yang.
yeah. Do you know what he needs?
Plenty of winners.
Do you know what he needs? He needs a defender. He also needs a makeshift quick replacement at centre half. He needs a left back. He needs a goalkeeper, and he needs a striker.
Welsh is injured as well, isn't he?
And Welsh is out for 2 months.
So they've got 3 centre halves out at the minute.
For 2 months. Narovsky and Cameron Carter-Vickers.
And Welsh, 3 out.
Yes. So he's going to have to go for a makeshift one. He'll then obviously have the dilemma with Scales saying, okay, I know I'm in here as as like the 6th choice centre half, but I want to go.
I see Harry Souttar was linked with both Celtic and Rangers. I think he'd be a terrific signing for either.
Well,
I think that could be a big signing for Celtic or Rangers. I think he's very good, Harry Souttar.
I don't see. I only see Rangers making one more signing on the basis that they get rid of Hadji and Kamara. You might disagree with us. You can give us your thoughts on it. I would like to say to everyone, hi to everyone watching live on our YouTube channel. You can hit the subscribe button and join the football family. And we're live on Facebook and Twitter as well, Tam. We're going across all the platforms to bring you the show. Have a bit of banter, tell a few stories, react to the goals that are going in. And for anyone who's just joined us, Rangers defeated Ross County by 2-0 up at Dingwall. When you see James Tavernier's goal, you should be raving about it, albeit, if we're going to be hypercritical, Ross County stand off and allow him to travel a fair bit, he still hits an absolute raker.
He's a terrific footballer, Peter.
Yeah.
People go on, and it seems to be that, particularly in this country, people say, well, he can't do that, he can't do this, he can't defend, he can't do that. What about what he can do? What he brings to Rangers going forward, him and Barisic. And that is the modern day fullback now. Modern day fullbacks are high up the pitch, getting on the end of crosses, creating goals, scoring goals. They don't worry as much about defensively now in the modern game. But yeah, he's not a great defender, but in terms of going forward, he's a terrific player. I've always wondered why Rangers never played him maybe one forward. If he played a 4-4-2, could he not play midfield? So he'd get less defensive stuff.
Are you thinking maybe even in a Trent Alexander-Arnold?
Or even in the middle of the park, or even in a right wing, midfield, in a 4-4-2. A lot of teams don't play 4-4-2 now, but just so he's further forward and he's not got as much to do defensively, because he can be caught out at the back post. Yeah,
Tam, he scored 104 goals as a right back.
94 penalties.
Well, you might say 94 penalties, but the one thing I would say about the boy, although he sometimes divides the Rangers support, for me, I think if he could get maybe another title, it would be great. But I genuinely think that people will look back with fondness on his contribution.
One of the best right backs Rangers have had for a long time, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I know I'm not going back to your era with Sandy Jardine and guys like that,
yeah.
but I'm talking about maybe in the last 10, 15 or 20 years. He's a terrific player.
James says Celtic have definitely gone backwards. David just questioning Rodgers at the moment. And of course, hi to Blackadder, hi to Paul as well. Tam, I thought the same as you. Is this what we're going into in the Champions League? Is exactly what Paul Brady is saying about the situation. I think a lot of people...
has he been sold a dream, Peter? Has he been sold to get him in, and then it's just... we spoke to Neil Lennon's obviously in the show last Monday, and we spoke about it. We were just thinking to ourselves, he looks a bit flat at the minute, he looks a bit down.
Yeah.
Press conferences, he's not got a spark about him. Neil Lennon agreed with it. He spoke to him after the Kilmarnock game and he thought, it just looks a bit out of sorts. And maybe he thinks to himself, what have I come back for? I'm not saying that he's saying that at the minute, but
yeah.
For the players itself, some of the players, there's no way he's signing them, Peter.
Well,
they're obviously in the reckoning before he came in.
Yeah.
In the pipeline, if we lose a right back, we lose a whatever, they're going to come in, but there's no way he can be signing some of the players, Peter.
Well, 1980 says slow, one-paced, lethargic. This Celtic performance so far has been a disgrace.
Particularly when you come from Angeball, which is fast, getting after teams,
high pressure,
we never stop. Brendan's a bit more practical in terms of possession-based football, but I think Celtic fans want to see bang, Angeball, where you're getting after teams, you're pressing them high, you're getting crosses into the box, quick free kicks, quick throw-ins. I think the Celtic fans were spoiled with that over the last couple of seasons with Ange, and now you're getting a situation where it's it's slower, more pedestrian.
Well, Mark Greaves has said Celtic have gone backwards under Brendan. I don't think the players are buying into his style of play, and so far it's terrible football. Well, the only thing I would say to you, and probably some people obviously react, there's two elements to this that I must highlight to you. The tweet that I put out was to highlight the history surrounding Brendan Rodgers. The column that I'd written was basically that I thought Celtic would win everything because of their financial strength, and he is a good coach. They've blown it with the League Cup, but there's a long way to go, and I think, you know, without this knee-jerk, and I think the one thing about our station and our programmes is we try and offer variety, we definitely offer opinion, and I think we've got a kind of an attitude of try and offer a balanced view and say, okay, you've got to cut them some slack. Michael Beale's got to get, you know, his time to build his team, and so have other managers right across the whole of the Scottish Premiership and beyond, because I do think we're in a society now where it's quick, sack him, 3 games in, it doesn't look good. Brendan Rodgers has got to get his team together, but right now I'm looking at it and I'm saying to myself, well, you've got to get a team together for why you know, for the reason you were brought back, which is you've got to get a team together for the Champions League. I mean, they're 3 points ahead of Rangers going into this game, but there's a real sense from people saying Rangers can win the opening game at Ibrox because Celtic don't look great.
You know what the thing that I think is helping Celtic and Brendan Rodgers at the minute? That Rangers lost against Kilmarnock.
Yeah.
And Rangers have not looked great.
Tam, let's go to Fir Park. Half time, Kerry Pollock.
Half-time here at Fir Park, and it's the visitors who have the lead going into the break. Marlon Watkins' header remains the only difference in this first 45. An almost carbon copy of the goal they scored against Celtic last weekend. Danny Armstrong delivered the ball into the box and Watkins was waiting at the near post to head it past Liam Kelly to take the lead early on. Motherwell had the best chance through Blair Spittle, but not long after that to take it to level terms, but it was a routine save for Will Dennis and the Kelly goal. A big 45 coming up for both sides. Kelly won't want to concede a goal as they've kept a clean sheet in their last 3 ties. Motherwell will be hoping to get something out of this next half. Stands here at the break at Fir Park. It's Motherwell 0, Kelly 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Well done to Kerry there at Fir Park. She'll keep us up to date, and we will also hear from Adam, who's out there watching Hibs against Livingston. So quickly, just a quick summary of what we're witnessing so far. Half-time, Celtic 0, St Johnstone 0. Quite a lot of Celtic possession, as you would expect, but no goals to show at the moment. Hibs 0, Livingston 1 there at Easter Road. Certainly a shocker coming off the back of that 5-0 hammering at the hands of Aston Villa. Obita scoring an OG, which has put Livingston ahead in that match. Tam, calm your jets. We're talking about knee-jerk reaction, but come on, at home again, it could be a miserable week for Hibs fans to put up with.
Yeah, listen, I think that the pressure's just intensifying on the manager. I think that we've spoken about it so many times. He can't get a run of games where he buys himself credit in the bank with the Hibs fans. I think a lot of the Hibs fans are fed up with him. You know, he's kind of hyperbole after games, before games, his press conferences. They just want to see results on the park, and a tough game during the week against Aston Villa has obviously took a bit out the legs, sucked a bit out of the energy, and the first goal in that game for me was going to be huge. I've played at Easter Road in games like this when the manager's under pressure, team's not playing well, and when the opposition score, the fans are right on the players, and you've got to be brave, you've got to keep asking for the ball, and you've got to try and get the next goal. But listen, he needs to come back into this game and not get beat, because three defeats out of 3 to start the season is a shocking start for Hibs.
Yeah, hi to Billy, who joins us on our Facebook Live, Norman as well, John and James Crawford, and quite a lot of people offering their thoughts on the games and their favourite teams. Peter Cumming, Douglas Clark, Nareen, Paul Hendry, a lot of people joining us on our Facebook Live as well as Twitter Live to offer their opinion, and on our YouTube channel if you hit the subscribe button on a Saturday afternoon. Incidentally, next weekend, Tam, I think we're obviously going to have a wee trip down to the Midlands to see if Hibs can no, we're going on a bevy session. I may as well be honest about it. We're going down there to see
the rest of the Hibs fans are going down for.
I was just about to say, we're going down there to see a couple of mates who work for Aston Villa, and we're going to have a right good night out. But other than that, next weekend on the Sunday, right after the Old Firm game at Ibrox, Rangers against Celtic, You, me, Blair, Malloy, our digital journalists will be here. We'll be reading out stuff. We'll be reacting to everything that's going on after Rangers against Celtic. People can join us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube as well. And we will take all calls on it. Just give us your opinion and we'll fire back.
Oh.
You looking forward to it?
I am looking forward to it, and then we've got a wee dinner after it.
Have we? Oh, of course, we're going out.
Hugh McDonald is taking us on his...
Don't tell anybody where, not an oath for him Sunday, you off your nut.
I didn't know that they'd done food in the Loudon, to be honest, but it seems they're doing a nice wee three-courser for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to tell that you joke about these things, but if you ever watch Wayne's World, when the two of them end up going into a bar that they shouldn't be in, and the whole bar stops.
Was that us? Was that the Vaults? Was it the Vaults?
Yeah, we were in that pub.
I think it was the Rangers.
But I'll never forget that pub we went into, Tam. When we just walked in, we were going out for a meal, and we walked into a pub, and just everyone just looked at us as if to say, "You've hit the wrong."
Just sitting with beer, trying not to catch anyone's eye.
Trying to sneak out in case we get an absolute doing, but the boys were brilliant in there, weren't they? It was
Aye,
good
were
fun.
sound, aye. They never said a word to us until we went out.
Yeah.
And then they started shouting abuse at us.
Let's go to Easter Road. Adam Binney's there.
Half-time here at Easter Road. It's Hibernian 0, Livingston 1 as the visitors trail at half-time. That's because of an 8th minute goal from Scott Pittman. Yes, the record appearance holder at Livingston putting his side ahead before the break. It was a lovely move actually. Joe Newbley threading a great pass down at that left hand side, finding the left back James Penrice, puts it back across the face of goal with a first time cross, finding Scott Pittman, who slides in at the back post to give the Lions the lead. Hibs thereafter were really poor, failing to create any chances of no. Christian Doidge coming the closest with a header that landed into the roof of the net, but nothing clear cut in front of goal, and Lee Johnson will have to make sure that changes in the second half as his players were booed off the pitch at half time. As it remains here, Hibernian 0, Livingston 1.
What do you make of that, Tom?
I'm not surprised to get booed off.
Yeah.
Listen, the Hibs fans are great when things are going well and you're playing well and you're winning games. When you're not playing well and you're under pressure, it's a really, really difficult place to play. You know, I've been in that situation myself many times, particularly when I was in Bobby Wilmson, when we were struggling. So, listen, you've got to be brave, you've got to get on the ball, you've got to ignore the fans, ignore the boos and the grumbles and try and get back into the game. But Livingston was something to hang on to now. You know, it's going to be crucial for Hibs to try and get that early goal in the second half, because if Hibs get beat again today, you know, the fans will let Lee Johnson know when he's coming off that pitch, and he will know that he's under pressure. Yeah, absolutely. Hi to George Douglas, also Colin Clark, Stuart McGarvey, lots of people tuning in, Robert Monroe, all watching us on Facebook as well as YouTube, where Mike72 says, I'm going to join you from the Supporters Club bus up the road after a nice Rangers win next Sunday. Can you imagine us going live to Mike's bus on the show? That would be absolutely mental. Jimmy Duff says, Lee Johnson for the Celtic job, anyone? And Danny says Celtic have been garbage. I mean, that's just the opinion of it all. You know, Celtic, and by the way, particularly on the back of last week, Peter, you think that Celtic would come flying at the St Johnstone have been rubbish. That's the point. St Johnstone have been so poor. But by the way, end of first half, let's wait and see. But again, there's a difference in the pace to the way I'm watching Celtic now. And a lot of the players are used to it, Peter. They're used to that tempo. You know, you're getting after teams and, you know, your Kyogos and high energy, Maida. And to suddenly say to them, listen, no, don't press, just sit off or whatever. Suddenly everything that they were good at last season, they're not doing. Yeah, absolutely. And if you think you're a Hibby who's under a wee bit of pressure, John Stevenson, I know for a fact John Stevenson is a big Hibs fan, a good friend from many, many years ago when I used to live in Edinburgh. John, used to see him at the bar when he was single, happy, just enjoying himself, supporting Hibs. So great to see John joining us, but sadly he'll not be in a good mood after a tanking in midweek and a goal behind to Livingston. So this could be another very, very painful week. Is he under pressure? Oh, he's under pressure, Peter. To go this week? I don't think to go this week, no, I don't. I think he'll get a wee bit of time. I don't think you can sign all those players for all that money. You've got Brian McDermott, who's in now as the director of football. I think he'll give him a little bit more time. Once they come out of Europe, the next 2 games, I think they've got Aberdeen and Killie away. Yeah. And then they've got 3 home games. So the Aberdeen and Killie away are going to be the big ones. After he's out of Europe, they can part that, and then 2 tough away games.
Okay, Ross County 0, Rangers 2 was how it finished. Kemar Roof scored a goal to put them on their way. The second one was just absolutely top draw. You could watch it every day of the week. If it was scored by a Brazilian, we'd be raving about it. It was scored by James Tavernier in Scottish football, but it's an absolute cracker. Of course, the pressure's on for Rangers. A big week coming up with PSV and Celtic on the horizon. But as Michael Beale pointed out after the game, every week's a big week.
Out of this game with no injuries, so that's a good thing. We'll recover, and then our focus is on a really difficult game, but a hugely exciting one for everyone. Let's focus on that. Every week at Rangers as the season moves forward seems like a big week. In the time I've been at the club since 2018 to now, no one's told me there wasn't a big week. Every week is a big one.
Yeah, every week is a big one. He understands exactly what's at stake. I'm swaying one way or the other with them as far as European football is concerned. I think they played really good football today in patches again against Ross County, Tam. If I'm honest with you, I'm looking at the European game, and I still think PSV will have too much for them at home. What we are about to find out in midweek is if they have the same mentality, psychology and ability to do what Rangers did against PSV last season.
Yes, and I think that will still be in the back of the PSV players' minds that they got beat last season. They lost at 1-0 at home, didn't they? They lost the game. I think Cholak scored the winner. That's going to be in the back of their mind. And Rangers have got to take confidence. Your Golsons, your Taverniers, Barisic, guys that played in that game, they know how to win in this arena. They know how to silence the crowd. I think that it's a stronger PSV from last season. I'm not so sure it's a stronger Rangers yet. There's a lot of players still to bed in. They showed signs in the second half at Ibrox that they could be good this season. But all that matters in this game is getting through. For the money men upstairs and the board at Rangers, it's enormous. It's a big game for the players. You want to play in the Champions League. For the fans, I don't think it's that big a game, because I think if you're in the Europa League group stages, you're going to see more competitive games. You've got a chance to win games. I think if you get into the Champions League, listen, Rangers were hopeless last year. Landed in a tough group, but they might get a tough group again, Peter, and they might not win a game. And then you looked at Van Bronckhorst. Van Bronckhorst got to a European final the previous season, gets in a hard Champions League, takes a few doons, and all of a sudden that carries into the league campaign. He's out the door. Yeah. So I think it's difficult, particularly the higher level you go, to play. Imagine you're playing a Real Madrid or a Man City on a Tuesday, and you're playing, on a Saturday or a Sunday. I think it's difficult for a squad, even with Rangers' depth, to cope with that, and that's what cost Van Bronckhorst's job. Yeah, I don't know about you, Tam, and I don't know what you think yourself if you were going to European football. Aberdeen, Hibs. It's a competitive game, don't you? You do, but can I tell you something? Rangers and Celtic fans think they belong in the Champions League. I don't think Celtic and Rangers are. I think Celtic and Rangers are Europa League sides, but what they do like, and this is one thing I think they do like, is they love to hear the Champions League theme, and they'll love to go to the away trips. And I think if you can mix that in with suddenly finishing third in a group and you drop into the Europa League, then they like it. They're quite happy to go August to December and see if they can somehow upset the apple cart. But then as long as they finish third and get Europa League in January, really? Yeah, absolutely. That's where I think the best hope is. But whether they can do that or not, as you say, sometimes they're lucky to draw. Elsewhere in the Scottish Premiership, what about Kelly? Marley Watkins, it was Danny Armstrong with a lovely curl ball to the back post. Watkins was about a yard away and then just nodded it in. Keeper helpless, really. And Kelly have a good away goal at the moment, leading Motherwell by a goal to 0. I've not lost a goal this season. Yeah. It's a fantastic start. A couple of my mates are Hibs fans. They're wanting Derek McInnes for the next Hibs manager. Really? They are. I don't know if that's just because he's hot at the minute. Yeah, I'd quite like that as well, Tam, because it means we are able to hold on to Lenny. I think that Derek is a quality football manager, but his style of play is maybe suited to Kilmarnock. I'm not being disrespectful to him. I think it's maybe the same as David Martindale at Livingston. Maybe you just get to a club and you're suited. The home pitch helps him, obviously, clearly it helps him. At Aberdeen, they hounded them out at the end, Peter. Derek McInnes said they wanted rid of him because they thought this crap football we watch is eye bleeding, we're too negative.
Man
Still
United
get
2,
results.
Forest 2, Casemiro's just get the equaliser. Because I don't know about you, but I could hear real grumblings there of,
Aye.
by the way, Eric, in your Dutch masterclass is not working, and I still don't think they look a good team.
Nah, the Wolves battered them in the first game of the season, and they were very, very lucky. I mean, how that wasn't a penalty? The big goalie came out and nearly punched the guy's head off.
Yeah.
Should have been a penalty. But just getting back to McInnes, I think that if Lee Johnson goes in the next few weeks to a month, Derek's going to be in running for that job, along with Neil.
Yeah, that I must admit, you surprised me with that one, Derek McInnes. I like Derek. I think he's a good manager.
Is he suited? The Hibs job is, I'm speaking to my two mates out there, die-hard Hibs fans. Hibs job is a hard job, Peter. One, you've got to play attractive attacking football. Two, you've got to win. You know, and that's difficult to do. And I think Derek can win. I think he can get third, fourth, fifth every season. Is he going to play attractive football? And that's what Hibs fans want to see.
Yeah, well, there's a turn up for the books. Tam wants Derek McInnes if the manager at the moment, Lee Johnson, is sacked. And I'll tell you, the only thing is I try and give Lee Johnson the benefit of the doubt time and time again since he's arrived. And just when you think, oh, there's a result, now they'll get a bit of momentum.
Can he string two games together?
He just cannot.
Games,
he can't get
wins.
anybody on side with him.
And this was a bigger game than the Villa game. It really is. Listen, Hibs have no chance of beating Aston Villa. Keep it
Well, it could be.
Keep it to 9-0 in aggregate, and I think you're done all right.
Yep.
But the Livingston game at home today is a huge game. He's got a big 45 minutes coming up.
Absolutely. Paul says, I agree with you, Peter. UEFA League, even getting a run in the Champions League, and then you go into the Europa as well. You know, that's
the luck of the draw.
It is, I know, but that's what you want, Tam. We want to be able to, you know, saunter across Europe, Rangers, Celtic, and Aberdeen this season, and then, you know, I agree with you. I don't know if you said
at the draw Rangers got last year. That was horrific.
Yeah, I know that, but
Liverpool, Ajax, you're never finishing third in that.
No, absolutely not. And I thought Celtic
probably should have.
Well, Shakhtar Donetsk. I mean, honestly,
they just over there, didn't they?
They blew it. They were 1-0 up, and then, you know, Mudryk, who hasn't kicked a ball since, he looked world beating.
He disappeared. He signed a 10-year deal. He's sitting a big cigar out in London.
Exactly.
He disappeared, didn't he?
Yeah, Chelsea. Hi to Wendy Wilson. Hi, Wendy. Solemn Cars, Alec McLean, Stephen Flynn, David McGuinness, Sandy Mullen. Lots of people watching us on Facebook and on live on a Saturday afternoon. I can't tell you that the feedback from our Straight Talk one-to-one interview with Hugh Dallas has been absolutely superb. Lots of people definitely listened to what Hugh had to say on his career, and of course the emotional part of just relaying to us on that day was the day that he just got the all clear from cancer, and he's advised everybody, Tam, on, you know, prostate cancer, go and get the check. I did the next day.
Did you?
Yeah, absolutely. I just thought you can't be hypocritical.
No, and you can't be embarrassed. You can't be embarrassed, Peter, to go and check yourself out. And I should probably go and get myself checked as well. I'm 42. You're obviously a bit older than me. I think the older you get, then the more chance you're probably getting. So I think if you catch that's one of the cancers that if you catch it early enough, you should be okay with. So I listen to him, and I totally agree. Don't be embarrassed to go and get checked by a doctor if you're worried about it.
You know what it's like with guys, you know, there's that kind of a bravado. Yeah. Don't want to go and see the doctor.
Testicular stuff and stuff like that, you know, it's if you feel a lump or stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Hilary Jones here.
Well, absolutely. And you know we like a bit of dark humour, but I did say to my wife, I started to panic because he had hands like George Foreman. I just thought that
was doing so. Didn't he fix some fingers like King Charles, did he?
I had to. Hello? Are we still on? Anyway, I can tell you. Thank God there's a goal for Motherwell. It's Motherwell 1, Kilmarnock 1. Casey has scored. Yeah.
Kiss of death for Kilmarnock. I don't fancy Derek for the Hibs job. No good enough.
No, he's not good enough. He's blown it. Give us your thoughts on. Give us
prostate.
Honestly, only in this programme can you go one with the other. But the one message that I have to say that Hugh got across was, we joke about it, but do go and get a check. It's well worth it, and you get the blood test first time. That's what I was trying to tell you.
Have you done another one with your toilet? With your bowels?
That's as well. You got to do that.
Is it over 50?
Yeah, over 50. Tam Cowan was the man who actually influenced me on that one as well. Sometimes it's just your mates. When you're starting to, you're starting to think, you think you're bomb-proof, but especially guys, I think, and I might be talking out of turn here, but I think women have got a more sensible approach, and because of the information that's out there, my wife going for, a check on, breast cancer, they just seem to be more...
maybe less embarrassed and less...
Well, on it, and I think that's the great thing about it. But a goal for Partick Thistle, I can tell you. Partick Thistle 3, Queen's Park 1. What a tanking that is for
it's a good result, because Queen's Park have started 3 out of 3. And Partick Thistle, slow start, hammered at Hearts last week.
Yeah.
Lost a lot of their better players, Peter. Lost Holt, Docherty, wee boy Tiffany.
Yeah. It's a goal for Dundee United, by the way, as well. Ayr United 0, Dundee United 1. I'm just waiting to see if I can get the scorer for that one. But nevertheless, they've just taken the lead in that match, and it's Kevin Holt. Yeah.
So, guy we just spoke about. Very good player for Partick Thistle, and I don't think they've replaced him, Thistle. And there was a few mumblings about Chris Dillon already, which I thought was incredible. He was half an hour away from getting him promoted. Just shows you how things change quickly in football. But that'd be a great result. That's a wee bit of a derby game as well. So that'd be a great result for Thistle, get them back on track again.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks to a lot of people who did actually mention how good it is, hearing on our Facebook and Twitter and on YouTube the value of getting checked, not only for prostate cancer, but of course bowel cancer that David has mentioned as well. Yeah. Listen, we all want to make sure that we can head that terrible disease off at the pass, and it was great. If you get a chance, watch the Hugh Dallas Straight Talk talking about his career, and he doesn't shirk any of the difficult subjects that we had to talk about, and it really is well worth a watch. One of the things that's really getting a lot of traction, some people were doubting what we were doing with our programming this season, but the people that have responded have certainly enjoyed the journos programme. There's nothing better than getting 4 journos on a chair and then they just start arguing with each other, Tam, about various topics. I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
You've got a varied panel. Obviously you've got Alison, yourself and Hugh McDonald, and then you've obviously got a special guest on. You'd got Partsy, Gordon Parts, and the week before you had
Andrew Smith.
So I think when you've got, particularly Hugh's got a wide range of knowledge on everything.
Yes.
So, and then Alison as well. So I think it's a great show. I've watched the last couple and it's entertaining.
Yeah.
You can't always agree with people. I think it's good if somebody has, no, I don't agree with that there. And as long as it's a respectful kind of conversation and argument, then that's great to listen to, and you've had that the last 2.
Yeah, well, the journos...
Partsy in here who was just brilliant.
Partsy was great. He just threw a grenade in and off we went. That was us. And then the week before I thought Hugh was actually going to lump Andrew Smith, for
struggles.
Oh, it was fantastic. I just saw him losing the head and I thought, well, will I intervene or will I let him get his full point out? It was magic. That's what it's all about, and we're giving you the Women's Football Show, Kerry's Saturday morning preview with Tam and Ruffy as well, and we're also going to be doing Champions League football, and right across our social media we're bringing you managers, players, the pre-match and post-match interviews covering Scottish football. And if you download the PLZ Soccer app, you'll get all the breaking football news at your fingertips right across UK, European and world football as well. So there's lots to enjoy, and hopefully you'll hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel, because there's lots more to come on the channel. It's not just about phone-in shows and other shows that are just dominated by Celtic and Rangers and people bashing each other over the head, Tam. We like to deal with a broad spectrum of issues and cover as many teams as we possibly can.
Yeah, because you've got other channels that are dominated by Celtic and Rangers, and obviously they're the 2 biggest clubs, and you're going to speak about them the most. But the Motherwell fans tuning in, St Mirren fans, Hibs fans, Hearts fans, Thistle fans, they want to tune in and you want to hear them, speaking about their club.
Yeah.
Maybe the great start from St Mirren with Stephen Robinson, or Motherwell with Kettlewell, or whatever. So as you say, it's not just, you can't just focus on 2 teams. You've got to give everyone else the equal opportunity to chat about them and what they're doing.
Yeah, and that Motherwell goal from Casey was the first time that Kilmarnock conceded in 302 329 minutes. 329 minutes.
It's been a great run, great start of the season.
Absolutely. And he's told everybody that he feels as if they're better.
He signed some good players. He signed Dees. He signed the boy Mail from Rangers.
Finlay.
And he signed Finlay.
Yep.
That was 3 good centre halves. He signed McGuinness in the middle of the park, who's a warrior. He gets about the park, and he's got Vassell up front and the wee boy. I like the boy Armstrong. I know a lot of people obviously have seen him.
Yeah.
Right, left-footed, cuts in on his left from the right-hand side. I think he's a very, very good player.
Yeah, I like him.
Kilmarnock will be trying to get him tied down, I think, on a better deal or a longer deal, because I think there'll be a few teams sniffing about him.
Yeah, Boric, who's in goal today, has made a crucial save. Joel Newbley almost making it 2-0 for Livingston at Easter Road, Tam. I mean, if they're
Is David Marshall injured?
if they're booing Hibs at half-time, God knows what they'll be like if Livingston come away with a win there.
Oh, listen, if Livingston score the next goal, I don't see Hibs coming back from it. I think that I think they'll lose the game, but they've got to try and get the next goal. If they get the next goal, all of a sudden the whole atmosphere in that stadium changes. You've got momentum to go and win the game.
Got to read this one out, Tam.
If Livingston get it, they're beat.
Got to read this one out. John Monaghan. Don't forget as well, and we haven't said it.
John Monaghan slaughters us. I think I've seen some of his comments. Is it negative?
I'm glad you said that, by the way. Thanks to you for pointing that out, Tam. Don't forget as well what we do on a regular basis. I haven't said it for a long, long time, but what we do say to everyone is that if you want to put a point across, by all means, put the point across in a balanced way and certainly not abusive, or we have to ban you, because this is not really the show for you, and it's certainly not one for you, John, because your head's in the clouds and your mind's in the gutter. So it's one of those ones where when we get you, John, we'll bar you from our Facebook feed, and apologies to anybody who has to put up with the language that John has mentioned on that feed. YouTube is usually the place where it's all crazy, but I'll tell you right now, Lee Johnson's one of the finest managers of his generation, because Hibs have scored.
Yes.
Martin Boyle has scored. Did you see the little girl who sang the Martin Boyle
I did.
song, the Hibs fan?
It was someone who follows me on Twitter's granddaughter, and she was great, wasn't she?
Yeah.
It was brilliant. And listen, that's what football club's all about. Everybody's grew up having heroes. You grew up with, was it Kenny Dalglish was your hero?
Yeah.
Try to think who my hero was. Probably Ian Wright. Never got to meet him, but when you're a young kid, you look up to these people and you love them, and it's great when you get to meet them. And I think that Martin's got in touch with her and sorted a strip out as well. So,
yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah, Johnson, really good manager, but I feel as if he's lost it now. Livingston 2-1.
You're joking.
Oh, Bruce Anderson.
What?
I mean,
he's told me one each.
Oh,
how can it be possible?
He's just stood up and scored 2-1. Bruce Anderson.
Oh my God.
I mean, honestly,
that's going to be the issue for Lee Johnson. There's no way that Hibs can concede a goal straight after scoring. It's just shocking, and defensively Hibs are all over the place. They have been all season. They've got goals in them, guys like Boyle and Johan and Boy Venti, but rubbish at the back. Terrible defensively.
I know. Ayr United 0, Dundee United 2 now. Moult has scored just after the hour. Louis Moult, if he can stay fit, will be a huge signing for them.
He came back up to Motherwell, and I know that there was a lot of effort putting in to get him back in, and I spoke to Stevie Hamill and Brian Kerr, and he just couldn't get him fit.
No.
He was the problem with his ankle, then he was out, and that led to ultimately them probably losing their jobs. And it must be frustrating for them to see him back at Dundee United banging goals in, fit, and playing every week. It's just your luck sometimes. It's
amazing sometimes how a major player can affect you if you lose him. John Barnes will turn around and say to you, losing Henrik Larsson, that he was basically done for, because they were a shadow of the team. I also remember when Rangers lost Michael Moles. What a blow it was. He was a fantastic player. I mean, if Michael Moles hadn't have had the injury, he would have been a superstar. I mean, a real.
He was top drawer, Peter. I played against him a few times actually, and just
swivel of the hips.
Just been on the same pitches. I mean, you used to try that and all that, and I used to do my knee. But he was a tremendous player, and I think it was just that night against Bayern Munich, wasn't it? He went round the goalkeeper and landed on his knee, and he wasn't the same player after that, which was a shame, because as you said, he could have played anywhere. At that point, he was phenomenal. Yeah, top drawer.
Arsenal 0, Fulham 1, Brentford 1, Crystal Palace 0, Everton and Wolves 0-0. I'll tell you right now, by the way, I'm looking at the overall situation with Everton. Can Everton go down? Are they going to go down with that huge stadium that they've got being built? I just don't see anything.
I've not been keeping tabs on
No, they've signed a few, but they need major injection.
I think it's a kind of Tottenham situation where a lot of money's going into the stadium.
Yeah.
They've got their building. By the way, it's supposedly majorly behind in terms of the timescale of getting built. There's been delays in getting building and all that stuff.
Yeah, Bukayo Saka's equalised for Arsenal in that match, so it's now Arsenal 1, Fulham 1. Brentford leading Crystal Palace. Man United 2, Nottingham Forest 2 is the latest from the top flight in England. But in Scotland, Rangers 2-0 winners up at Ross County with Kemar Roof and a brilliant goal from James Tavernier to seal all 3 points ahead of the return leg against PSV out in the Netherlands. Celtic 0, St Johnstone 0 after 67 minutes, which I'll tell you, I'm looking at
restless fans there, Peter.
Well, not only restless fans, listen, you can't hide the truth. The fact is they're going into the final week with their usual antic of trying to get players in quickly, and they've picked up injuries. The Celtic fans will go absolutely crazy if they gift any kind of incentive for Rangers going into that game at Ibrox.
Yeah, particularly you're playing St Johnstone at home. No disrespect, they've lost every game this season.
Yeah,
what I've seen anyway. It's but there's still plenty of time. I would still expect Celtic to win the game, but failing to break the deadlock after 67, 70 minutes Parkhead against St Johnstone is not what Celtic fans want to see.
And I don't think they've got strikers. They've got
Kyogo, but listen, you need a different option.
Well, exactly. And the boy,
they've not got a different option. They've not got a Giacomakis. I know. Listen, a lot of people, Celtic fans, think you should have. Listen, I understand why Celtic sold him. He wanted a new deal, wanted more money.
Yeah.
Celtic says no, whatever, and he went. But Celtic have not replaced him. They've not got a big guy to come on like that to go a different style of play.
I'm not sure O is the answer.
He's injured, isn't he?
Yeah, but I'm sure when he comes back, it doesn't look as if he's that level where you're saying, he could cause havoc. He's not somebody that puts the fear of God into you. So I wonder what they'll do. They're certainly dragging their heels on it as ever. It's a goal for Arsenal, and Nketiah has scored to make it 2-1 now, so they've managed to turn it around in that match. Celtic 0, St Johnstone 0, Hibs 1, Livingston 2. You just couldn't make it up with how that whole game panned out there, because it was absolutely incredible. Anderson scoring the goal right after Martin Boyle had equalised for Hibs. I mean, that sums up Easter Road. I mean, I've been to a couple of times this season. I've been to the games and it's like looking good and then flat as a pancake.
Yeah, it's one of the ones, Peter. If you get that goal and then you start getting a bit of momentum, you go and win the game, you start putting Livingston under pressure, a few corners, shots at goal, the fans are into the game. They're getting behind you, they're rolling you on. But to lose a goal straight away, sounds as if it's really enough straight from kick-off. It's just unacceptable, and that just sums Hibs under Lee Johnson up. It's either up or down. There's not been a consistency about Hibs.
Yep, absolutely. Motherwell 1, Kilmarnock 1, 2 teams that have not a bad start to the season. Certainly Motherwell were pushing last season, eventually with Stuart Kettlewell away from the danger zone.
What have you got in that game in your predictor?
I had that as 2-2.
Did you? I've got one each.
And the other one was I had Hibs to win by a solitary goal, but that's been kiboshed. And I had Celtic to beat St Johnstone 4-0.
I had 6-0, so I've still got time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think we need 3 players sent off before any of that's going to happen, because it's now, do you know what happens when you get into that final 15-20 minutes plus injury time, Tam? That's when every stray pass is booed. There's groans from everywhere, so that's undoubtedly what's going to happen. As far as the Championship is concerned, Airdrie 2, Inverness Caledonian Thistle 1, Ayr United 0, Dundee United 2, as we mentioned earlier there, Dunfermline 0, Wraith Rovers 1. What a big game that is, Tam.
That could be a great result for Wraith Rovers. I think that Dunfermline was a team that I fancied to go well this year in the Championship. Big Fife derby, and that would be a massive. And there's another guy, Ian Murray, who I played with Hibs for 6-7 years. Done great at Dumbarton, got a big move to St Mirren. Didn't do well at St Mirren. Dropped back down, went to Wraith Rovers and done really well at Wraith Rovers. So big Hibs fan as well. Yeah. There's another one that might be linked if Lee Johnson leaves. So there's certainly a lot of candidates out there if Hibs do pull the trigger on him.
Yeah, Greenock 0, Greenock Morton 0, Arbroath 2. Dick Campbell coming up. Well, it's a surprise one, that, isn't it? When you consider how well Morton, they gave a good account of themselves in the League Cup against Rangers. Partick Thistle 3, Queen's Park 1. In League 1, I can tell there's a goal for Crystal Palace down south. Joachim Anderson has scored in that match for Crystal Palace, so it's swaying one way then the other between Brentford and Crystal Palace. Now 1-1, Arsenal 2-1 up in Fulham. In the lower leagues in Scotland, just going into League 1, Annan 2, Edinburgh 2, Cove Rangers 0, Queen of the South 2, Hamilton Accies 1, Montrose 0, and Stirling Albion 0, Kelty Hearts 0. And in League 2 in Scotland, it's Elgin City 1, East Fife 1, Forfar 1, Bonnyrigg Rose 2, Peterhead 0, Spartans 1, Stennismuir 1, Dumbarton 4, and Stranraer and Clyde, you can't separate them, 0-0. Bonnyrigg Rose, I'm going back there for another testimonial, Tama. I mean, they've obviously kiboshed you, so one of us done a really good job. It was fantastic, by the way. Honestly, I really enjoyed that day. The Bonnyrigg Rose guys are a right good bunch.
The best one was when you done the raffle and the guy came up and he didn't have great teeth, remember?
Yes, absolutely.
And you said, "Oh, look what you've won a tooth." The guy was with 3 teeth.
Oh, it was just absolutely
He
sexy.
took it well, to be fair.
He did, to be fair to him. By the way, James Crawford reckons there'll be 10 minutes extra time at Celtic. But the way things are going, I think Celtic...
They'll just keep playing until Celtic score.
You think so?
Yeah.
No.
I remember playing for Hibs.
Oh, yeah. Get it off your chest.
Yes. We actually scored 2 that day. We were 2 each. And Johan Mialbi, some of the viewers might remember it, Johan Mialbi scored a header in honestly, it was about 6:45.
Yeah.
I think it just kept playing. He scored a header in about 97th minute, 98th minute, and then full time goes.
Fernandez just scored a penalty for Man United. They're 3-2 up in Nottingham Forest now.
Never doubt.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I can tell you right now, right across the whole of Scottish football, we'll keep you right up to date with what's happening. Also, over and above the Scottish Premiership, we'll be in the Championship, League 1 and League 2, and look at the English Premier League, and we'll have reaction from managers and players at the end of the games. You've already heard from Michael Beale and also from Malky Mackay. I think, have we heard from Malky Mackay yet? Did we hear from him?
No, I don't think we have.
I'll tell you what, let's hear what Malky said on that 2-0 defeat today.
We have great chances early on. We have to take them. We have to take our chances today, and we don't. But overall, I've got a team that can create, and we will score goals. We have scored goals already this season. We've scored a lot of goals this season so far already.
I don't think he's overly worried. It's not so much. I don't like everybody saying it's a free hit against Celtic and Rangers, because Malky at times today was, he switched the formations. He was willing to, have a go and let his team try and be adventurous, but they couldn't do it because Rangers had the majority of the ball.
No, Peter, he said a hard start. He said Celtic and Rangers in his first 3 games. He said Celtic Rangers is St Johnstone at home. They've picked up 3 points. Fine. Their seasons, you'll probably say to yourself, it's not going to be determined by playing against Celtic and Rangers and the points they pick up against teams like that. They beat St Johnstone at home, which was a great 3 points for them. So they've obviously going to have easier fixtures coming up. They've got those 2 at the road early doors, and they'll be looking to try and put a run together now.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll keep you right up to date with what's happening in the games. Of course, it looks as if Motherwell at the moment just going through a long period with a VAR penalty to Motherwell in that match. So there's a real chance for Motherwell to take the lead against Kilmarnock. I knew there was going to be goals in that game. Both teams have really... I'm gutted for Stuart Kettlewell. I know some people thought he was bleating on about it, but when Beereth, who looked a player at the start of the season, when you lose him for 3 months, it really sets you back, because Motherwell don't have the type of budget to try and convince somebody else to give them another loan.
Yeah, listen, he lost Kip Van Veen in the summer, which was a big blow for him. He signed John Albika, he got injured. He signs Beereth, who was brilliant against Hibs. Come on, set up a goal, skinned fish, and put the ball in the net. So to lose him, I think it was a massive blow. He's angry about it. The graft that they must have put in to get him up on loan from Arsenal. It's one of those things. I don't think it was a bad tackle, Peter. I think he's unlucky, the boy. It happens in football. He's just got to move on from it. But if you can get 3 points today, then You know, he's all of a sudden he'll forget about that tackle.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, I'm just looking there at that, and the penalty's been saved. So absolutely fantastic for Motherwell in that match, because it was a real, in fact, a real chance for Motherwell to take the lead. And the penalty's now just been saved. So that
he's
is
going to be raging. I bet Beereth would have scored that.
Well, that's the thing about it. So William Dennis, and it's now 3-1 to Livingston Tam at Easter Road. They're 3-1 up. Mohsen Gary has just scored for Livingston. 3-1. I have to tell you,
he's under massive pressure, Peter.
I genuinely,
put it this way, right, Peter? The fans will be screaming for him for his head tonight. No, not only at the game, message boards, fans forums, Twitter, Facebook. I would think that 90 to 99% of the Hibs fans now are done with Lee Johnson.
Yeah, I actually think we're at that point where if he survives the end of the day, I'll be gobsmacked, Tam. You can't lose at home 3-1 to Livingston. By the way, the Aston Villa camp were amazed at this team selection. They looked at it and thought, he's playing with two strikers against Aston Villa who can outspend them, and they thought, game on here, we could score a barrel load. They thought that. I thought he got his tactics wrong in midweek.
Peter, he probably did. I don't think whatever he done was going to influence the result that much. He might have lost 3-0, right, if he went more defensive, fine. But I don't even think the Hibs fans judged him on that game. I don't think they were even bothered about that game.
Yeah.
But they've played Motherwell, St Mirren and Livingston in the first 3 league games. See, when those fixtures came out, the Hibs fans must have been thinking, by the way, we could have 9 points.
Yeah.
They've got 0. So that says it all, and they've got difficult fixtures. They've got Kilmarnock away, who are tough to play, and Arsenal and Aberdeen away coming up.
Yep.
So if he survives today, which is a big if now, getting pumped at home, he might not survive the next couple.
You don't like to see managers getting the
Peter,
sack.
I want him to do well.
Yeah.
I don't mind him. I think he's great for us in the media.
Oh, he's
fantastic. He gives us a line. He's great. You know,
every press conference.
It's great. It's great. It's something to talk about for us. If you get a guy going in and go and boring and just all the cliches that managers say, then we'd have nothing to talk about. But he's great entertainment. You know, he's good copy. But for the money he spent, it's not good enough for Hibs.
Yeah, I actually think they'll pull the plug on him. Because if you look at it, they've got Villa away, then they've got Aberdeen and Kilmarnock away, and the window is about to close, Tam. Now, if they stick, if he's still there,
if Ron Gordon, God rest him, was still in charge, I think he'd be gone.
No, but if he's still there by the time that window closes, and after the Aston Villa's the 31st of August, Tam. The next day after, I fear for them down there. I think Aston Villa could easily take 5 or 6.
Aston Villa will play their B team.
Well, let's just say they do play their B team. They're still going to win.
I would think they would win, aye. But the motivation for Villa is just to go out and play a game.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Hibs will be highly I'm not saying Hibs will get a result, but I don't. It might be 2 or 3-0.
Yeah, but the problem is, Tam, it's the 31st of August. So if that window closes, you then are bringing in a manager who has to play with that squad. I mean, it's not a bad squad, by the way. He spent a bit of money.
It's a good squad.
Yeah.
He's not getting the best out of them. Simply because, one, they can't defend. You know, he's made changes, by the way, dropped Stevenson and Hanlon today, which a lot of Hibs supporters have been wanting. That should result. Maybe they'll know the problem, maybe it's the manager.
Yeah, and by the way, St Johnstone almost taking the lead in that match against Celtic. It was a save from Joe Hart, or it could have been St Johnstone leading at Celtic Park. We wouldn't have been calling for Brendan's head at that point, Tam, because we might never get in. we might never get back into Celtic Park the way things are going. Thanks to so many of you who are watching on our Facebook feed, as well as watching on our YouTube channel and Twitter as well. We'd love to hear from you. Just give us your thoughts on your favourite team and how they're playing, or things that have upset you north and south of the border.
Is there any Hibs fans on the feeds that still believe in Lee Johnson?
I don't think there is.
Is there anybody tuning in? Can you let us know if you still think he's a man that should get more time?
Chris has just said Johnson sacked tonight, and I don't disagree with Chris. I think Lee Johnson will be lucky to survive today. That's my gut feeling on the way that team's playing, Tam. What he's had is backing, and where I don't see a grand plan. I just don't see one.
I think even if he survives, it's just a matter of time now. It's a matter of time. The Hibs fans have completely lost all belief in Lee Johnson now, and as I said, there'll be I'll be surprised if there's anybody on social media or fans forums that think, nah, I gave him a little bit more time. I think most of them will just think, nah, it's time for a change, get him out now.
Yeah, Nicholas says Rangers a great win today. Nicholas, we can't disagree with you on that, because the second goal scored by Rangers, James Tavernier, was an absolute peach. If, as I mentioned, on more than a few occasions, if any other player in any other league scores the goal that James Tavernier scored,
it's not a fluke either. He scored great goals, James Tavernier, and we spoke about it at the start of the show.
Yeah.
I think he's a tremendous player. I've always wondered why Rangers never played him further forward and played somebody behind them. But his delivery, him and Barisic, they got a lot of criticism for their defensive work, which is fair. But what they offer Rangers going forward, is priceless for me.
Yeah, absolutely. James Tavernier scored the first one by a man who had to wait 16 months before getting his start for Rangers again. Maybe the forgotten man. Certainly wasn't the forgotten man today. Scored the first goal for Rangers, Kemar Roof, and I think the manager was well pleased to see him back in a Rangers jersey.
Delighted for Kemar. Obviously we conceded from a set play in midweek, so it was important we went and evened that up in terms of being strong in the other box, and typical Kemar finish, really, just that goal scorer instinct. James scores an excellent goal, and at that stage I'm looking for us to go and get the third before half time.
Yeah, excellent. I mean, they couldn't get that third goal. Ross County rejigged things in the second half, made a better fight of it, couldn't really get back into it. I suppose Jordan White will be kicking himself. He had a great opportunity to get a goal back, but other than that, Tam, good win for them, sets them up nicely for midweek, and all that squad, Patrick Mullen, our reporter up there, mentioned that John Souttar for him was man of the match. So right across the team now, you've got Cantwell getting praise, Raskin, Rangers fans like him, Tavernier scored a great goal there, John Souttar's escaping any kind of injury, looks as if he's forming a partnership with Goldson, and then up front, if you've got Kemar Roof back injury free, and you've got a supporting cast, Danilo, Dessers and Lammers, he's got options, he's got choices.
He has, and it's amazing. A couple of weeks ago, I remember watching Rangers against Kilmarnock, and they were dreadful. Kilmarnock won the game deservedly so. Celtic won, and a lot of criticism towards Michael Beale and that squad. All of a sudden, a few decent results, decent performances. Celtic struggling today. The boot's on the other foot in terms of Celtic under pressure a wee bit now. Brendan Rodgers under a wee bit of pressure now. And I think getting Roof back, the re-emergence of Matondo, who I thought was brilliant against Morton, took that on against PSV, scored a great goal, looked very, very sharp when he came on. And you add that into the three guys he signed, the three guys you just mentioned there, Sima getting the goal. Rangers have got tons of options in the middle of the park. I've been very impressed with Cantwell. And John Souttar for me has always been a terrific player. Yeah. I thought him and Goldson were brilliant against PSV at home. I thought they really held that defence together when the two fullbacks were bombing forward. So all of a sudden now, Rangers are looking, the garden's looking a bit rosier for Rangers than it did just after that Kilmarnock game. Yeah, John from the Isle of Man says Rangers would be better in a back three, letting Tavernier and Barisic go forward with the defenders behind them. Whether he'll do that or not, only time will tell. James Crawford says it's a big game for St Mirren tomorrow. If the scores stay the same, a win for Buddies would put them back to the top of the league again, which I just think is sensational, Tom. Yeah, and listen, St Mirren, he's done brilliant for them, and he's another guy that's going to be linked with Hibs. I'm sorry for the viewer that just... Yeah, Everton 0, Wolves 1. Everton, and Kaladzic has scored for Wolves, and I have to say, I don't know what he does there or how he manages, and I think he's a good manager, Sean Dyche, but he's got his work cut out there with Everton. Again, Burnley suited Sean Dyche, Peter. The small club punching above their weight. Expectations at Everton are way, way higher than Burnley. You've got to get in there, you've got to play entertaining football. It's a big city club, and I don't know about Sean Dyche and Everton. Okay, Tam, I'm looking at now the final few minutes at Celtic Park, 0-0 against St Johnstone, which... That's a shocking result, Peter. Well, I have to say, not only shocking... Coupon in the land getting ripped up as we speak. Well, not only shocking, but in the next week, Tam, I think a lot of people will be looking and saying, are you going back to the old days of the way they used to drag out signings?
everything is being dragged out here, and there's no marquee signings. There is nothing that I've seen that's getting any Celtic fan that I know excited.
Tell me the last time that Celtic went 2 games in a row without scoring a goal. There's a quiz question.
Yeah.
When was the last time Celtic went 2 games in a row without scoring a goal? When you look at the amount of goals that Celtic scored last season, was it, how many was it, Peter? 100? Was it 100 odd?
Yeah, it was. I think it was over 100. Yeah,
over 100
Kyogo
goals
had
last
battered
season.
in the goals.
They've played St Johnstone and Kilmarnock and no scored a goal in 2 games.
Yeah,
that is serious alarm bells. At the
2 teams at the bottom end of the table last season. Yeah.
That was St Johnstone.
And of course, this is the other aspect of it that I think is well worthy of mentioning. I'm not going to pull any punches on it. You know, Brendan Rodgers turned around and said, you know, they need quality. He inherited a treble-winning team.
Yeah, it's not as if he's walked into a shambles.
Exactly. This is
it's just a different style of play, Peter.
Yeah.
And these guys, particularly the Japanese guys, the Asian guys, they're used to playing that high tempo, getting after teams.
Livingston hit the bar, Tam. It was almost 4-1. It's absolutely incredible.
I can only imagine the atmosphere there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Adam will probably tell us after the game, but I've been involved in games like that, and it's...
There are moments, Tam, where you cannot, and a big hi to everyone who's joined us on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter watching, you cannot get certain results out of your mind. There are moments when I've been on broadcasting, whether it be radio or TV, and you just know when a manager's time is up. And for me, the manager's time is up at Hibs. I hate to say it, but there's nothing that I see from him that tells me that Hibs have got a bright future.
And Ruffy always Ruffy's obviously sat on the board at Partick Thistle, and he goes to games and a lot and all that. When you're at home and the directors are at the game, Peter, maybe the owner, the directors are at the game, and you're getting battered at home with a team with a fraction of the budget, let's be honest, Livingston, and the vitriol that's coming down for the stands, and now probably being aimed at guys like McDermott and the Gordons and all that, get him out, he doesn't know what he's doing, blah blah blah. Sometimes that is right, okay, we need to get together and do this. Away from home, when you're not involved in it, you can maybe say, oh, it's a bad result. At home, you're there, you're hearing everything. I think that's when directors and owners tend to pull the trigger.
Josh Campbell has pulled one back, Hibs 2, Livingston 3. I think Lee Jones is one of the finest managers. He's got a battling team there. They're fighting for him, but they're still losing. I have to say, the other aspect
goals in them, Peter, we know that.
How many minutes of extra time is it at Celtic Park?
I'm going to go 10.
10, 8. 8 minutes
just keep playing till Celtic score.
Yeah, well, you might. you might.
My books, by the way. Yeah. I'm not being biased.
Yeah, don't try and dig yourself out of a hole now. By the way,
just keep their 10 minutes to get a goal against the wee teams.
Yeah, Mark says, I'll say it again. It looks like the players are not playing for Brendan or understanding his way of playing. We are slow and terrible. Well, Mark, just before Brendan left in the February, they were slow and terrible.
Well, that's what you that's what you said in your.
Yeah, I wouldn't retract anything I mentioned in that tweet.
Yeah, well,
you know how many views? Do you know how many
millions?
Views? Do you know how many views that tweet's got? I looked last week.
Has it got more than 2-0 the weight goes over for Hibs on Twitter?
No, that is legendary. that's on another planet. I get reminded by Hibs fans about that every year. No, that's way out in another one. Last week I had a wee look at it, and it was at 645,000 on Twitter alone, which was
that's
just.
How you're banned.
This is the exact thing.
I tell you what, Peter, at the moment, you're.
No, the tweet was accurate.
Bang on at the moment.
He's come back, and I will say this to you: Brendan Rodgers is a good coach. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But he just looks as if he's in a movie at the moment where the players are changing from Ange to him, and that transition is proving difficult. And right now, they're playing a brand of football that, quite simply,
had to get off to a good start. Peter.
Yeah, he
really, because there was not a lot of Celtic fans that were happy that they actually came. First and foremost, they left at a crucial time in Celtic's history, but then to actually come back, there's a lot of Celtic fans didn't want them back, and this is not going to it's not going to help.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Still think Celtic will score, by the way.
oh, you do?
I do.
Well, hang fire, because I certainly don't think they'll score the way they're playing at the moment. Ayr United 0, Dundee United 3. Kevin Holt again.
They look strong favourites for that league, Peter, didn't they?
Yeah, he's got it. I mean, Jim, this is...
I mean, he's another one.
Jim Goodwin.
Spartans beat them in the first game of the season.
Yeah.
And then somebody else beat them, and you're thinking to yourself, Partick Thistle beat them in the League Cup group, and you're thinking, he's under P.
You know, sometimes when a name comes up and you actually look at it and you think, wow, what? Imagine being called this name, you know, down through history when you think about it. Somebody's watching us on Facebook and he's called Duncan Edwards. Now, it's just a wee bit too long for you in the tooth and a wee bit too long for me as well. But the amount of people I've interviewed...
Man United?
In Manchester United and Dennis Law...
And the Busby Babes?
Yes, and Dennis Law, and so many people talk about him as if he was absolutely sensational, a player who had everything, unfortunately killed in the Manchester United air crash, and that was a team that might have gone on to have won the European Cup ahead of Celtic, because they were a really special team, and that sad plane crash in, I think, 1958, when they were playing Red Star Belgrade. So it was a real blow for the whole of the United family. And I think since then, you know, United's such a big global brand and people expect them to be in the mix for the English Premier League, but they battled away 3-2 against Nottingham Forest deep into injury time. The story of the day will undoubtedly be if St Johnstone get a point at Celtic Park. The goal of the day, unless Livingston's third is a volley which you've just got to, you know, pay homage to him. I think Tavernier's goal of the day, because it's just an absolute peach the way he curls it round, his instep is just brilliant. Duncan Edwards says, after and all from a wet Manchester. So maybe Duncan Edwards, luckily enough, had a dad who named him after a legend, which would have been a lovely story if that was the case, Duncan. But nevertheless, in Scotland at the moment, Tam, I'm looking at the scorelines. Ross County 0, Rangers 2. We've heard from Michael Beale and Malky Mackay. Celtic 0, St Johnstone 0, well into injury time in that one. Also, Hibs 2, Livingston 3. Another defeat, this time at home to Livingston. Can he survive tonight? That could be the story of the day, with Lee Johnson under real pressure for his job. Motherwell 1, Kilmarnock 1. Motherwell had a great chance seconds ago but squandered it. Blair Spittle just putting it wide. Other than that, Tam, on an afternoon like this, suddenly, like last season, I don't know if you remember it, we highlighted it, 8 managers lost their jobs. After 7 games, Jack Ross lost his job at Dundee United.
Yep, and that is modern day football, Peter. Fans want instant results. They want to see, you know, you want to see things happening early at your club. You want to see your team doing well. But in terms of Hibs, I don't think Hibs have kept a clean sheet so far this season.
They haven't.
They have not kept a clean sheet. 98
minutes and Payton has scored. It's Motherwell 2, Kilmarnock 1. They've won it in the last minutes of that game. Wow. And right into injury time, Payton has scored.
Great result for Motherwell. Again, a manager that's doing really well, Stuart Kettlewell, and you know, that could be a crucial 3 points. Kilmarnock go 1-0 up. You think they can hold on and get off to a flying start, but fair play to Motherwell for coming back and look as if they're going to win it. Absolutely.
And a lovely one here from David, who says, Peter, I've got a letter in my house. It's an answer back from a letter that I wrote in 1972 that I wrote to Jock Stein after his car accident. It's amazing how those little moments of history that you can have. Lots of people have got little mementos from relationships with players and managers and official letterheads that, you know, are personal to them. They might not be worth a fortune. It depends in some cases what's on the letter. But there's some great memorabilia. I love it. I love that type of thing. I know you're not. No, I am. I mean, who can forget Alec Ferguson writing a letter to Eric Cantona? Did you see that one? I saw that in midweek. It was brilliant. You know, when he retired, saying you're always welcome back here and all that. Tam, Motherwell 2, Kilmarnock 1, and that's full time. Motherwell have won it 3 points. What a win! Good result. Didn't have that in the predictor right enough, so I'd won each. That's a bit of a sickener for me, as is Hibs getting beat. And by the way,
I keep expecting you to say Hibs have equalised. You're not going to, are you?
well, I don't see that. But what I'm telling you right now is, I think the other big story, and I think Stephen McLean will deserve tremendous credit if they get away with a point.
A person in the planet who would have thought St Johnstone would go to Celtic Park and get a point.
Lee McCulloch said here at the start of the season on this programme that it would be down to the old firm games, and he's been blasted right out into a different stratosphere with that opinion.
They've both dropped points in the first 3 games.
Yeah, because you know what, Tam? I welcome the other side.
Great.
You want to see the other side.
You want to see a more competitive league. You don't want to see them going and getting beat 5 and 6.
That's what I think. What do you think?
I went 6-0 to Celtic. I mean, that is
honestly
disgraceful shout. I deserve all the abuse I get for St Johnstone fans.
Yeah, the other thing about it is, don't come on the show on a Friday after 2 cans of Kestrel. It's as simple as that. That's the only way I can look at what you said, and I can tell you full time in England, Arsenal 2, Fulham 2. So they've dropped it. Calvin Bassey was sent off for Fulham. Remember Calvin?
Surely not.
He'd a good. I'm not even going to answer that one. You deserve an absolute caning. Full time, Celtic Park 0-0. That is quite simply, Tam, and I'm going to no holds barred on it. For a team that's been so poor this season, start of the season, that is an embarrassment. That result.
It's a shocker. It's a shocker. And I'd like someone, please, to tell me the last time that Celtic failed to score in consecutive games.
Yeah, it's a belter.
I mean, a team that inherited that scored 100 plus goals last season, and they can't score a goal against Kilmarnock and St Johnstone.
Yeah, it's a
terrible
huge
result.
one.
Great, fair play to St Johnstone.
Boos from the fans, real boos at Celtic Park.
If Brendan wasn't quite feeling the heat, he would definitely be feeling the heat this weekend.
Well, it's just a dreadful result for them, and I think a lot of people are saying,
why would the Celtic drop a point at home last season?
Well, they lost to St Mirren early on at St Mirren Park.
At Parkhead.
Yeah, I don't think they...
Celtic don't have a 100% record. Maybe drew a couple, I don't know. I can't even remember. Too many drop points at home.
They didn't lose a game at home.
No.
GT says, no sense of purpose or togetherness. A few key players have left. A few key players wanting to go. No improvements in terms of the replacements brought in. No expectations of anything better. And that, quite simply, for me, I know exactly why that is in my mind.
It doesn't help it. Big Ange is off to fly at Spurs, I know.
Flying.
They just want Big Ange back and a bag of cans.
Yeah, well, Big Ange is not coming back, I can tell you that. But that is the story of the day as far as the 2-0 win for Rangers up at Ross County. Celtic draw with St Johnstone, a team that have been getting hammered right, left and centre.
Celtic were 1-20.
Yeah.
It's somebody actually texted me this morning and said it's the lowest odds anybody's ever been in Scottish football in the Premier League.
Is that right?
£20 to win a pound.
Yeah. Well,
that's why the bookies are driving about in Bentleys.
Yes.
And I've got a hole in my sock.
Yes. That's exactly what I was thinking, Tom. And one of the main reasons why I don't gamble. Well, what do you think? Celtic fans, give us your thoughts on that. And of course, it's full time at Easter Road. Hibs 2, Livingston 3. So, is it time up for Lee Johnson at Easter Road?
You listening to that?
What's your thoughts? What's that?
That's the noise of my pencil sharpening for my column next week.
Yes, absolutely. Well, the other good thing about it as well is we also pay you. If you could maybe have an opinion here, we'd be delighted. That's why we brought in Lee McCulloch. But nevertheless, I'll give you an opinion. I think it's time up for him. I just do not see anything that can fill the Hibs fans with confidence about Lee Johnson. You can't have a stop-start. And then over and above that, I think a lot of Celtic fans will be angry at that lacklustre performance against St Johnstone. And what will happen, quite simply, is that you're in a situation where Celtic will go into a game at Ibrox with no fans there against a Rangers team that may well come off. They could be coming off. Well, not only that, but they could be coming off the back end of a great result in Europe. Or indeed, even if they're coming off the back of a negative result, they've got a chance, as Tam just mentioned there, to go above Celtic in the table if they can get that home win, and that would really lift everyone around Ibrox. So a lot of Celtic fans will be angry. Give us your thoughts on that. David Milligan says, I'm looking forward to Wednesday and Saturday. Great result for the Teddy Bears today, says David. And I don't think anybody's going to argue with that. And 1980 says, Peter, I've had a mayor in today's predictor. You've had one. Everybody's had one.
Who's picked Livingston and who's picked Celtic?
I think today I've got no points. I genuinely do. I picked Motherwell to draw. I picked Rangers to win 2-1. So I think you get 1 point. Other than that, I had Celtic to win 4-0. I had the draw with Motherwell Kilmarnock, which didn't materialise. I had Hibs to win 1-0. So
I think I've got Rangers. That was it.
You'll be lucky if you've got a point as well, Tam. That is a dreadful day. Don't worry about it if you're on the predictor.
Everybody's had a stinker.
And if everybody is wondering how do we get on the predictor, all you need to do is go to our website, click through the predictor, and you're in with everybody to see
monthly prizes.
There's monthly prizes. We're going to find out on Monday who's won the monthly prize, and then at the end of the season, the winner and their partner will be able to come with us to the PFA Scotland Player of the Year Awards, Tam, at our table. What a night that's going to be.
That's going to be incredible, by the way.
Absolutely. And Brian Haig says, if Hearts win tomorrow, they'll be on the same points as Celtic. We could even be second behind St Mirren. What a change. Early days, though. And I think that's fair point. But nevertheless, St Mirren chance to go top of the table again. Brilliant. If they can get that win. We'll hear from Stephen Robinson shortly. We're also going to hear the full-time reports from the games. We would bring you a full-time report from Celtic Park, but unfortunately we are still barred from the ground. Obviously, I hold my hands up. It's for me basically offering an opinion, Tam. But we move on. We'll try and resolve that issue with Celtic. But right now, most of the Celtic fans will be looking and thinking, forget any fallouts anywhere, not happy with what they're watching.
Oh, Peter, particularly when you're watching the Ange Postecoglou team of the last couple of seasons, you know, Celtic were all out attack, scoring goals from every area in the park. You know, we never stopped, quick throw-ins, you know, quick free kicks, crosses into the box, goals galore, you know, entertaining to watch. To go from that to now Brendan Rodgers' laborious build-up, you know, too many touches, slow, you know, not getting in behind teams, you know, everything's pedestrian. The Celtic fans are going to be very worried, I think, with that result today, Peter. And not only the result last week where I thought they were bullied a little bit on that Astro. You've got to bounce back today, Peter, and go and put in performance and win 3 or 4-0 and get the momentum back again. To drop points at home at St Johnstone is a shocking result for Celtic. Yep, absolutely. You can give us your view on that. And as Tam mentioned, they will try and have a look and see. But Kilmarnock defeating Celtic by 1-0, no goals for Celtic. And then Celtic 0, St Johnstone 0, no goals for Celtic. Tells you all you need to know about this. So it's a body blow, knocked out of the cup and now dropping points in the early part of the league season. For Celtic. A real bad week. You know, no goals in 2 games against Kilmarnock, St Johnstone, out the cup and dropping points before an Old Firm game. It's a worrying time if you're a Celtic fan. Even though it's so early in the season, you can say, oh, he's got to bed in and players and all that. But Brendan had to get off to a good start because, as I said, the pressure's on him already. And I know it's early days, but what I'm watching, Tam, and certainly what I've watched from Celtic since even against Ross County, Peter. Yeah. Yeah. That was never was it 4-2? That was tighter than that. Yeah. Ross County could have been 2-0 up in the first 10 minutes, and that's continued on. Aberdeen had a spell until Nicky Devlin, you know, put back header. Celtic scored. Aberdeen were on top in that game as well. So there's been periods in every game so far that Celtic have been poor. Yep, absolutely. James Crawford, excuse me, says Hibs have got the weight of the league on their shoulders. The reason why? They're bottom of the table tonight. Hibs are bottom of the league? Yeah. Oh. Bring back Bobby Williamson. Well, but I love Bobby Williamson. I love Bobby as a guy. Bring back Bobby. He's a brilliant guy. But nevertheless, give us your thoughts. Can Lee Johnson survive? What now for Celtic in this week when many Celtic fans were craving big signings? They haven't materialised. They certainly are missing someone that can score goals from them now, and it doesn't look as if there's anybody on the horizon of the names that I've mentioned that you're thinking they're going to spend big on a goal scorer. Are they going to spend big on anybody? And let's not forget, by the way, by the time the transfer window closes and Celtic get ready to play in the Champions League, having sold Jota as well, Celtic and Frimpong,
you look at the money that's all coming in from various deals, you know.
Has Frimpong moved on?
But if he does move on,
he's linked.
There's a possibility of a windfall there.
Celtic fans don't even bother with that. They're thinking we're not going to
£30 million.
We're not going to spend it anyway.
They'll have £100 million in the bank, and they haven't spent a penny on anything.
And they signed the boy home. They signed Norocki, the centre half, the other centre half, Beelroof. Lagerbielk.
Yep.
So they're not signing guys for me that are going to improve the team. They're signing squad fillers, and when you start to sign squad fillers at Celtic and Rangers and they don't improve the team, you're going to start getting poor results.
And obviously the one thing that's coming out of Celtic Park is when they're doing the lap of honour. Why they do a lap of honour for a 0-0, I'll never know. Well, it's all this, you know.
It's like Jim Goodwin. Jim Goodwin done that Aberdeen, remember?
Yeah.
How do you do that? Because you can't do it every game.
It's incredible. Let's get our full-time story of what happened in a dramatic day at Fir Park with Kerry Pollock.
Full time here at Fir Park. It finishes here today. Motherwell 2, Kilmarnock 1. After the visitors taking the lead early on through Marley Watkins' header, it is Stuart Kettlewell's side who will be taking all 3 points here today. They levelled up the scoreline through Dan Casey in the second half. The centre-back received the ball in the middle of the penalty area, I should say, and simply slotted it past Will Dennis to take it to level terms. Motherwell were then awarded a penalty to get their side ahead. Callum Slattery stepped up to the spot, but Will Dennis denied him of giving his side the lead. And then in added time, Harry Payton coming off the bench in the second half. He simply put it past Will Dennis to give his side the lead. 3 points and to send the Motherwell fans into euphoria here this afternoon. It finishes here at Motherwell as Motherwell 2, Kilmarnock 1.
I love it.
At Fir Park.
I love it when you get a full time like that from Kerry. That's, you know, when the reporters really get into it, and brilliant, because that looked as if it was, to all intents and purposes, heading for a draw as well.
It was, and I'd won each in predictor, so I was a bit raging at that last minute goal. But listen, fair play to Motherwell, 1-0 down at home. You know, to come back and win the game is a great result for Motherwell. Disappointing, I think it was last week they went out of the cup to St Mirren and they lost a striker. So bit of a low mood this week, I think, at Motherwell. But that lifts everyone, winning games, and they find themselves. Where are they in the league? Have you got the league table up there, Peter?
I'm going to tell you right now, Motherwell now
definitely the top 6.
Just behind Celtic in 7 points. Yeah. They're level with Celtic, but goal difference is better for Celtic.
So they started well, and that's, listen, it continues on for Stuart Kettlewell last season. You know, and he came into the club when they were at a low ebb under Stephen Hamill, and he came in and lifted the whole place. Finished the season strongly. Lost his best player, his goal scorer. Still grinding out results. I'm
not going to change my opinion on this programme. We're always, I think, balanced, and we always offer opinions, so I'm going to give you one right now. And I'm not going to change it all the way through the week, even depending on what could happen in Europe for Rangers. I think Rangers will win next week's game.
I think, listen, it's difficult to tell, Peter. You need to wait and see.
Wait and see what?
I want to see the Celtic team. I want to see who they've got back. I want to see their team.
I'm amazed at what's going to change.
I don't know, Peter, but I'd like to see the team.
The window will have closed by then, Tam. So you're talking about players that are going to have to
Celtic
try.
Celtic might get a couple of players in between now and then.
Yeah, to make the difference.
You never know. Right now, if you're a Celtic fan, you're a little bit fearful going to Ibrox, in my opinion. You're not going there with a lot of confidence, and that has not been the case over the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Celtic have went to Ibrox thinking we run over the top of Rangers. It's not a problem. We don't fear Rangers. I think there were a little bit of trepidation now amongst Celtic fans going to a packed Ibrox. The way the team's playing, the way they're defending at the minute.
Yeah, Gilkey as a Hibs fan says I think it'll be 10-0 at Villa Park with this shambles that Lee Johnson has to answer for. Move him on now, get someone in early. And he goes on to say Easter Road was empty today. I wonder why. That tells you all you need to know about the story.
When that starts to happen, Peter, fans start voting with their feet. That's when the money men go, right, we need to make a change. We're losing money.
Yeah, we will hear from the managers at Easter Road and what Lee Johnson has to say.
Well, you've got to give David Martindale credit for Livingston. We seem to be going a little bit about Hibs and how poor they've been. That's a great result for Livingston.
Oh, it's fantastic.
David Martindale continues to punch above his weight, and Lee Johnson was first to bleat about budgets and all that, rightfully so, for Aston Villa. I'll tell you right now, Hibs and Livingston, Hibs dwarf Livingston in every aspect. Club size, training ground, budget, wages, squad. And they went over there, went there and turned them over. So fair play to Livingston and all.
Remember, by the way, with his side, they lost to Inter Descaldes.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I know.
It was an embarrassment.
And they were a pub team.
From Andorra?
They were a pub team.
I mean, honestly, I watched them and I thought to myself, I actually thought they could go out against Lucerne because they had chances too.
Again, Peter, they've lost goals in those games. I think they lost 2 over there. But the Hibs have got goals in, scoring off 2 goals. They cannot defend, and that is going to cost Lee Johnson his position. Hibs can't defend.
Yeah, absolutely. Give us your thoughts on this on a day when I think it all belonged to James Tavernier as far as goal of the afternoon. He hit an absolute screamer up there at Dingwall. Rangers winning by 2-0. We've heard from the Rangers manager Michael Beale, delighted. Everyone's a big game. Looking forward to PSV. How do you think they're going to fare there? Can they get the win that they're craving to get into the Champions League? What a shot in the arm that would be. Although Michael Beale has mentioned, and some people from the club will obviously highlight it, that Rangers don't budget for getting into the Champions League. Their budget is related to getting into the Europa League. Well, a £30 million shot in the arm minimum would be massive if they can defeat PSV Eindhoven again. It's nicely balanced at 2-2. Give us your thoughts. What about Rangers in the big game next weekend? Tam and I will be here with Blair Malloy. We'll be sitting and we'll be chatting about the game right after the game finishes between Rangers and Celtic. We'll be here. We want you to join us on Twitter, on Facebook, on our YouTube channel, and give us your thoughts on it. We'll read out your thoughts on the game between Rangers and Celtic. I'm saying right now at this point, Rangers will win that match in my mind. I've got no doubt right now the way Celtic are playing. I don't think they're capable of going to Ibrox and winning. Rangers starting to play some good football. I don't see anything from Celtic, and again we're going into this debacle right in the final week, waiting for Celtic fans, waiting to see if they're going to sign anybody.
I think Celtic will sign a couple of players. I think if you're Brendan Rodgers after watching that performance today, you're battering the door down saying, listen, I need players, I need quality in the forward areas to go 2 games. Celtic Football Club to go 2 games against St Johnstone and Kilmarnock, not scoring a goal. What odds would that have been? 1,000,000 to 1 for me. So he needs better quality in the forward areas. It's clear as day. Celtic have got a set way of playing, and teams are wise to it now. And if teams like St Johnstone and Kilmarnock can keep a clean sheet against Celtic when they step into the Champions League, it's not going to be pretty to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. So many of you have joined us on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook. It's lovely to have you along with us on a day when Rangers got the 3 points up at Dingwall. Celtic slipped up against St Johnstone, who've had a dismal start to the campaign. And I think many people thought that Celtic were going to score a barrel load of goals against St Johnstone. It didn't materialise. And sometimes we forget that a manager has to go to a team with a huge budget and try and outfox them and try and come away with a result. And sometimes we forget to point out, well done to Stephen McLean. That boy's been under immense pressure.
Yes, under serious pressure, Peter. Favourite to get sacked. You know, in the sack race in Scottish football, he's a favourite to get sacked after the start they've had. For him to go and take a team to Parkhead and keep a clean sheet and get a point is a massive result for St Johnstone Football Club and for him personally. He called out some of the experienced players last week, saying they're not good enough, they've not been doing enough for him, and he's got a reaction out it.
Yeah,
and
great
result.
1 win in 7. 1 win in 7 for St Johnstone, and that was against Alloa in the League Cup. Since then, they've lost 4 games, and quite simply, they've only scored 1 goal. And they've been, they were well beaten by Stirling Albion 4-0. They lost to Hearts 2-0, and they lost to Ross County. And now against Celtic, they've come away from Celtic Park with a credible 0-0 draw.
Great result, Peter. I don't even think Mystic Meg would have seen that today. It's a fantastic result for St Johnstone, but for Celtic to not score a goal at home. Again, when was the last time that happened? Did it happen under Ange? Not scoring a goal at home at Parkhead? Can't recall off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Those are the games that you've got to win and win comfortably, because the fans expect it. 60,000 in there, they expect to come up, be entertained, score a few goals, win the game. Up the road.
hasn't materialised. Give us your thoughts on that as well. We will hear from Lee Johnson. Will he survive the end of the day? To be perfectly honest with you, not in my book, Tam. I think, this could be the moment when eventually Hibs look and say, I can't see a forward plan here.
I think he'll get a few more games, Peter.
Yeah, do you? Wow.
I think he's spent a lot of money. They've invested in him. They've invested in the squad. I think he'll get a few more games. Interesting. And I don't like to see... That's not to say... for me, I've got no longer got any faith in Lee Johnson to be the Hibs manager. I'm just giving you what I think will happen. If it was up to me, I would change the manager now. But I think they'll give him a little bit more time.
Last season, when Ange Postecoglou won the treble, played 38 games at home, they won 17, they drew 2 and lost none, with 58 goals scored, 14 against. So they only conceded 14 goals in Ange's time there at home last season, and then they only lost 3 games away from home in that campaign, won 15 and drew 1. So
nobody's answered the question. When was the last time, one of the viewers, when was the last time Celtic went back-to-back games domestically without scoring a goal?
Yeah, it's going to be a while, Tam. I have to be perfectly honest with you, but it's incredible. Thanks to so many of you for joining us on Facebook and Twitter as well. We'll hear from the managers and get those. We've heard the full-time reports right across the grounds, and quite simply, there are so many great stories. We're going to hear from, obviously, the managers for tomorrow's games, because let's not forget, Tam, we've got fixtures to look forward to on the Sunday as well, where of course St Mirren are going to play Aberdeen and Dundee take on Hearts.
Yep, 2 good games. Obviously, 2 teams that were involved in Europe. A difficult game for both. Hearts, got a big game to look forward to in Greece. Will he go full strength? We'll have one eye on that game. Similar thoughts to Aberdeen. Great result against Hacken over there. Good performance. Travelling back. Heavy legs. You've got a team, St Mirren, who are flying at home, particularly this season, who've got a good record against Aberdeen in recent times at home. So, listen, it's 2 tough games, but 2 very, very good games for me. And if St Mirren can win that, then fans might just be dreaming in Paisley of winning the league this season.
Well, St Mirren against Aberdeen, the St Mirren boss Stephen Robinson says whether it's Aberdeen or anyone else, they feel confident they can get something when they're playing at home.
It's positive. It always is. It's a positive atmosphere the boys have created. As I say, we win the games highly confident. I believe the staff here have got the team really, really prepared for any eventuality. And as I say, we go in confident to win games. At home, we don't fear anybody at all, and we look forward to the game on Saturday.
Let's not forget, there's a small matter of Aberdeen, who really have started the season well. It was a good 2-2 draw against Hacken in midweek. Europa League beckons, and the money and the rewards financially for Barry Robson are huge if they can defeat Hacken in front of what we anticipate will be a packed Pittodrie for that match. It's a huge game, and let's hope they can do something to get themselves Europa League football. This is what Barry Robson had to say about the game coming up. A lot of the players that we've taken in are probably 60 to 90% from what we want at the moment. They are still taking time to get up to speed. It's always a challenging game against St Mirren. The beauty of Scottish football, when you have to get into Europe, this is our 4th away game. We've had 1 at home. You need to be adaptable and have a good mentality, and that's something which I think a lot of people are getting excited about, is quite simply, they're still to get a run of home games at Pittodrie. He started well.
He hasn't finished the season very strongly as well. I like Barry Robson. Listen, we know what he was like as a player. I played against him many times. As you know, I get sent off for smashing him in a Dundee derby. He was a highly competitive player. He seems to have brought that into management. His team's hard working, they've got energy, they've got legs. He's signed some quality players as well, particularly Leighton Clarkson in the middle of the park, very good. Nicky Devlin. I pleaded for Hibs to sign him for years. I think he's a terrific player right back. Aberdeen have got him. He's signed 3 players this week. He signed Jamie McGrath as well, who's an Irish international.
Yep.
I think they've got a good squad, Aberdeen, and they've landed lucky in this tie. I think Hacken are a team that they'd have wanted. They've been over there. They've done the hard part for me. Now they've got to finish the job at home, and if they can get into the Europa League and the riches that bring, I think they'll back him even more. So listen, he's done a very, very good job at Aberdeen, and we want to see a strong Aberdeen. It's been a while since we've seen a strong Aberdeen. I think under Derek McInnes, when Celtic were in that invincible period under Brendan, they were the only team really that was kind of putting a challenge up with Celtic. They were unfortunate to run into them in numerous finals. But I think this Aberdeen team is going to be very, very strong this year.
Yeah, Richard Jensen, Jamie McGrath and Papa Guy all signed this week. So Dave Cormack mentioned there would be 2 or 3 signings. True to his word, he's basically stuck by his word on this one.
Plus, if they get through, when's that tie, Peter? Is it Thursday?
Yeah.
You've got what? Maybe you've only got a day. You've only got one more day.
Yeah.
So you're thinking if they got through that money guaranteed, they would go and sign more players, but they maybe run out of time.
Well, I think Dave Cormack has sat down with Barry Robson and said, look, here's the budget. If we need to push the boat out, we will. But not too much. But he's backed him, and I think he'll get the reward of it. I like what Aberdeen are doing. I like the players they've signed. Yep. And I think, obviously,
they've got a good energy about them.
Clarkson, Duke, Miofsky, brilliant.
Can they keep those guys? I think that if they get in the Europa League, then those guys will be thinking, well, this is a great stage for us. To play in the Europa League is a fantastic stage to go and prove that you're capable of stepping up maybe the English Premiership or whatever in England. So no, I'm delighted to see a strong Aberdeen. I think we need that as a football country. And
the immediate comments coming out of Celtic, apart from Brendan Rodgers, said he didn't think his side deserved to win today. Well, from a Celtic manager playing against a team that's only managed to beat Alloa, that tells you all you need to know about the anger that was coming from the stands. I don't think the Celtic fans are happy with what they've witnessed.
No, I can only imagine that some of the things that were getting shouted down to the home dugout. The Celtic fans are not happy, rightfully so. They've won the treble last season. They've won everything domestically last season. They were totally and utterly dominant, in Scottish football last season. And all of a sudden, you're out the League Cup and you're dropping points at home at St Johnstone. So something's not right. And the Celtic fans, I think, will be rightfully a little bit concerned at the way Celtic have started the season.
Yeah, this is the Saturday football results show. Hopefully you're enjoying the chat between myself and Tam McManus. Quite simply, you can get us across so many platforms now. On a Saturday at the end, 3:45 we start. We give you the half-time reports and the full-time. You'll get managers' reaction and players' reaction as well. Tam and I talking about all the burning issues in the game. You can get it on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter live. If you download the PLZ Soccer app, it's fairly straightforward, Tam. There's your lovely face in there. It's live on the app as well. You can watch it.
Free to download as well.
Free to download, and you can get involved in our predictor. There's lots of variety in programming, unique video content for you. It's all there for you to savour, and we're trying to give you as much Scottish football as we possibly can, reaction, and of course there'll be documentaries, one-to-ones. Hugh Dallas is up there as my first special guest on the new Straight Talk show. We've got the Journos show, Women's Football show, Saturday morning preview with Tam Ruffy and Kerry Pollock, and we'll get European football coming up. We hope we've got 4 clubs still in with a chance. Celtic definitely in the Champions League. Rangers hoping to get there, but could drop into the Europa League if they don't beat PSV. Aberdeen, if they defeat Häcken, will be in Europa League. And Hibs, we are almost certainly out of their game, 5-0 down from the first leg. Hearts 2-1 down against PAOK, but
also out.
They are also in my book out, Tam. I'm not going to fudge that issue, but you never know.
I'll get the first goal, you never know, but I think they'll be too strong at home, particularly in that heat as well, and that humidity.
Yeah, with Lawrence Shankland at the moment, I'm well impressed with Lawrence Shankland.
Oh, Peter, I think he's a tremendous player. I think he plays for Rangers. I think he starts for Rangers, and I think he's borderline starting for Celtic. Shankland. I think he's a tremendous player, Peter. I really do. I've always liked him. He sorted his fitness out. His goal the other night was chopped off as just a moment of class. Just to bend into top corner. He scored 20-25 goals for Hearts last season. I was surprised at it. I don't know for certain. I think he's maybe a Rangers fan growing up. I was surprised when Rangers signed Boyd Dessers and Danilo for 2-3 million. I think you'd maybe get Shankland for that, and I think he might have been a better option, but we'll soon see. But I think he's a tremendous player, but he'd been another option for Celtic. But Hearts will struggle to keep him. I think there'll be clubs in Europe looking at Lawrence Shankland the performances he's putting in.
Okay, interesting times, and Dundee against Hearts is tomorrow, and right across our social media you can stay up to date with that. Of course, off the back of that disappointing defeat in midweek, Frankie McAvoy has been talking about the players and the mentality they need to show.
In the main, we have done that well. Again, it's just about just keeping your composure and knowing that you've still got to be switched on at every opportunity. So, yeah, the goals are disappointing, but at the end of the day, we knew they were a good team, we knew they'd got opportunities, and we knew we'd get opportunities as well. We just need to make sure that we are prepared as best as we can, going to Greece next week, knowing that we've got to go and win the game.
Yeah, mentality, going to Greece, and then of course they'd like to go to Greece off the back of a win against Dundee. Tony Docherty, what do you make of his start as Dundee manager?
Solid. I think that obviously the first game of the season they drew with Motherwell, which was not a bad result, particularly we see how Motherwell have done this season. Lost narrowly away to St Mirren, which is a hard venue to go to. St Mirren strong at home. As you know, I'm really friendly with Stuart Taylor. I know they're looking to bring in another 2 or 3 players. He's been back, they signed quite a number of players. I think it's always difficult for a team just coming up from the Championship into the Premier League. It's definitely a step up. If they can just hang about and hang in and not get detached, then I think they'll get better as the season goes on. Because I think there's players maybe think, am I capable of playing at this level? And I think that the more games they play, and if they start well, they'll get the confidence from that, thinking I belong at this level, we belong at this level. The manager is his first job as well. So no, I really hope Dundee do stay up, and I hope they do pretty well this season as a club that I played for, and I'd like to see Dundee United coming up into the league next season, because Celtic, Rangers, Hearts, Hibs, Dundee United, that's great fixtures for our league, and you want to see the bigger clubs in the top flight.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, give us your thoughts on the big issues today, because quite simply in the Scottish Premiership, the main story of the early kick-off was a cracking goal from the Rangers captain James Tavernier. Kemar Roofe had waited 16 months to get back on the starting lineup for Rangers. He scored the opening goal for them and set them on their way to that 2-0 win and 3 points up at Dingwall against Ross County. Then all eyes were on the Central Belt to see what was going to happen, first of all, between the champions Celtic against St Johnstone. Would it be a cricket score that many predicted? Tam mentioned there were 1-20 Celtic in that game against St Johnstone. They couldn't score. It ended up Celtic 0, St Johnstone 0. A great result for Stephen McLean, who really should be praised for going to Parkhead and engineering a point from that game. Brendan Rodgers says Celtic didn't deserve to win today. Alarm bells ringing. Still no real marquee signings coming in. Celtic fans not happy with the performance, and certainly off the back of that defeat to Kilmarnock, it's not been a great time for Celtic, and Brendan Rodgers' return has certainly not lit the touch paper of excitement. And of course the delay in signings is another aspect of it, and the injury problems they have at the back end of the team too. No real goal scorer. Is that a worry for you Celtic fans out there? Give us your thoughts on that. Rangers, James Tavernier scoring a wonder goal. What's your thoughts going into the game against PSV and looking ahead to the big match at Ibrox 2nd of September? Tam and I will be here with Blair Malloy, our digital journalist, and we will be taking all points that you want to make across all our social media channels. We'll be live right after the game finishes for you to give us your thoughts on what you think went right or wrong between Rangers and Celtic. Who's going to win that big game? Who's feeling better about themselves going into that match, Rangers against Celtic? And over in the east of the country, another defeat for Lee Johnson. Can he survive tonight? Tam thinks he'll get a few more games. I think the game's up for Lee Johnson as Hibs boss. Now we wait to see what the board are going to decide after a 3-2 loss to Livingston. And it was the late show at Fir Park, because everybody is looking at the scoreline and thinking it looks as if it's going to be 1-1 between Kilmarnock and Motherwell at Fir Park. And then up popped Harry Payton, the substitute, to get the winner for Stuart Kettlewell's side. That's the story of Saturday afternoon in the Premiership. Tam, what really has caught your eye the most?
Well, obviously the two results that stand out is particularly Celtic at home to St Johnstone. I don't think anyone would have fancied that. St Johnstone going to there in terrible form, losing goals, not winning games. Celtic a lot of people would have expected to bounce back from a disappointing performance and result last week at Kilmarnock. You know, for Celtic to huff and puff for 98 minutes, I think he added 8 or 9 minutes on, you know, it's unacceptable. So I think that'll be the headline tomorrow on the back page of the paper, is Brendan Rodgers and Celtic, but also for Hibs, Lee Johnson. You know, and I think that you'll see a real groundswell tonight on, as I said, social media or fans forums, whatever. The Hibs fans will be wanting to cut ties with Lee Johnson and get a new manager in, because for Hibs to be at the bottom of the league, 3 defeats out of 3, Motherwell, St Mirren, Livingston, you know, it's totally unacceptable. When Hibs have spent over £1 million this season, Eli Johan, Venti, Dylan Levitt, that's over about £1 million to £1.5 million Hibs have spent, and they're sitting at the bottom of the league. There's not been a better backed Hibs manager financially since Alec McLeish 20 years ago. So totally unacceptable for any Hibs fan to see their team at the bottom of the league tonight.
Yeah, Stuart says 2008-2009, Tam, he reckons, thanks Stuart Monroe, he reckons that's the last time Celtic had back-to-back 0-0 domestically twice. It was St Johnstone and Rangers, I think that Stuart has looked at, then Hibs and Hearts. So thanks Stuart, if that indeed is the correct stats. We can only say thank you to you for looking it up, but it's been a long time, and quite simply Brendan Rodgers' return has not ignited excitement that the way it did when he came first time around.
He was on a hiding to nothing coming back. I always thought, you know, he won 7 trophies out of 7. He had an invincible season. He never got beat. He done everything. Like, he completed Scottish football, let's be honest. He done everything. He left to go to Leicester. When he comes back, Celtic fans are expecting, they won the treble last season, Celtic fans are expecting Celtic to win everything again this year and be undefeated. That's the bar that's been set by Brendan before, and then Ange Postecoglou last season. And the pressure, that he was on a hiding to nothing, and that's probably why he's come back, because he's been assured he's going to get 20, 30, 40 million pound to spend, or whatever it is, I don't know. He wouldn't have come back, I don't think, if he said, the Celtic board said to him, listen, you've got £8 million to spend, or £10 million, you'd be like, nah.
Tam, have a look at the table. There it is. Celtic still on top of the table with Motherwell joint top, but goal difference favouring Celtic, and then it's Rangers, then St Mirren, who can go back to the top if they defeat Aberdeen. Then it's Hearts, Kilmarnock, Livingston, Ross County, Dundee and Aberdeen, with that solitary point. St Johnstone getting a well-earned point today, and Hibs foot of the table, 3 games, no wins, and you know, Tam thinks he'll get a few more games.
I think he will, Peter, but I wouldn't give him them. I'd like to make that clear. I'd sack him now, but I think he'll maybe get a few more games.
I don't think he'll survive. I think, and that's a good point here coming in. Somebody said to us, Peter, Ali says, Peter, have you got Lennon tied down on a contract? I think it's fair to say this could be our last week with him, Tam.
He's someone who, I'm obviously very active in social media. I think Lenny's someone that kind of divides the Hibs supporters in terms of the job. There's a lot of Hibs supporters who desperately would want him back, and there's a lot of them, because of the way it finished at Hibs. You know, they lost to Hearts, and they were sitting in 7th or 8th in the table, I'm not sure. Don't want them back. But Neil's always been a divisive character, whether that was a player or a manager. Me personally, I would take him back at Hibs. Absolutely, I would take him back at Hibs.
I think you've got to have a manager, whether it's Neil Lennon, I think you've got to have a manager that changes the mindset of that club. You have to have a winner, someone who's experienced, someone who knows what it's like to have the pressures of winning matches. There is no point in going for former Hibs players that don't have the experience. Scott Brown's getting it tight at Fleetwood at the moment. They've had a dreadful start. Is Ian Murray up to the enormity of the job? That's another question. You're looking for someone. I think Hibs a big club, but they don't have big ambitions. Expectations may be big to be, kingpin in Edinburgh, but if you want to really go on and replicate what was achieved with Alan Stubbs and then getting out of the Championship with Neil Lennon, you have to have a mentality that 0-0 draws are no good, 1-1s are no good. It's got to be wins. It's got to be a calibre of player that can handle getting a rollicking from the manager and can actually go out there and try and respond to it.
There's absolutely no way that Hibs should be bottom of the league. They should not be bottom of the league. Peter, they've spent a fortune this summer.
Yeah.
They've got, in my opinion, they've got a very, very good squad of players, and they've picked up no points from Motherwell, St Mirren and Livingston. That, as I said earlier, that fixture list came out, the Hibs supporters must have been sitting there going, we've got a great start this season. By the way, they've got Aberdeen, Kilmarnock. I don't think they play Hearts, Celtic or Rangers for about the first 6 or 7 games, Hibs. Yeah. So the fans just think we can get after a flyer here, and it's the complete opposite. In October, I'm pretty sure that Hibs play Celtic, Rangers and Hearts consecutively in October, or in the month of October, which if Lee Johnson survives till then, we'll probably seal the deal.
Well, in my book, Tam, as I look at things, Villa is basically watch the game behind the couch, because that could be an absolute tonking down at Villa Park. Then it's Aberdeen and Kilmarnock away. Then they've got St Johnstone and St Mirren and Dundee at home before they're away to Hearts, Rangers and Celtic. They've got Celtic at home on the 28th of October.
So they've got a great run of fixtures. The fixture list couldn't have been any kinder in terms of getting off to a good start for Hibs. It goes into a very difficult October if it gets to October. But as I said, I think that 99% of the Hibs supporters tonight would be wanting to change a manager. Simply because the money they've spent and where they're sitting on the table.
Yep. But I don't think he'll survive tonight. That's just my opinion on it. But then again, if he does indeed get extra matches, it must be because the Hibs board buy into this long-term vision he's got of building it. I mean, when he mentioned 5 transfer windows, to me, I almost fell off the chair.
3, Peter. I think when you've got 3 transfer windows, I think that should be enough for you to have your own team, your own style of play, your own tactics. I don't see any of that at the minute with Hibs.
I'll tell you what their biggest problem is, Tam, and I told you at the start of the season what their biggest problem was, and it's, as I watch them regularly, you know what I'm like, I go through Easter Road, the back four's murder.
They're poor at the back, Peter.
They're just dreadful.
They're poor, and scored another 2 goals today. They scored 2 against St Mirren at home, scored 2 today at home and got 0 points. They've lost 6 goals in 2 games at home in the league. They lost 5 the other night. Okay, it's a different, they lost a goal against Lucerne, they lost 1 against the Andorran Butchers and Plumbers. So not good enough at the back.
No, absolutely not. We'll hear from Lee Johnson. It's one of those situations when you go through a defeat like that, the longer it goes on before he comes into the press room, you're thinking, is he still there?
He's maybe in the dressing room reading the Riot Act.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to wait and see what he has to say on it, because for many Hibs fans will be looking at it and saying, you're defending the indefensible. In fact, I hate to use the pun, but the defence can't defend either. That's the biggest problem. And the manager, for me, at times has been starting to talk in riddles about what he thinks he's doing there at Easter Road. So, Hibs fans, what do you think of it? Time for a change, or will he survive, as Tam mentioned, and get more games? Certainly the next game is not one you would want against an English Premier League side. At home, Aston Villa could really give Hibs a torrid 90 minutes. What about Rangers? Rangers fans, are you hopeful of what's about to happen in midweek? Can you pull off another big result by knocking PSV out of the Champions League group stages? Will it be Rangers in the Champions League group stages? On the evidence of today, again, some really good flashes of play from Rangers. 2 good goals to talk about, a cracker from the captain. Are you filled with confidence? And in contrast to that, the flip side has to be Brendan Rodgers. And at this point, I know everybody has their say on it, but I think he's 4 or 5 players adrift.
Peter's not helped. He's got a lot of injuries to key players. I think that obviously Carter Vickers is a big one for me. I think he's a talisman at the back. They're missing players, but he's got to strengthen the team. He's got to get a different style of striker in. I think it's Kyogo, great movement, but if you clog the middle up, and you play deep, he's not got any space running behind. You need a physical presence in there, and that's why Giacomakis was. I think there was a great,
foil.
Great foil, Peter. A great different, difference in terms of their movement and the way they play. If you're sitting against a team in a low block, sitting defensively, you put crosses in. Giacomakis, perfect. If you're playing against a team that plays high up the park, Kyogo can run in behind. It was a great blend. They've not got that now. They need to sign, for me, a bigger target man striker, another wide man, and they need a creative, maybe 10 type player. Have they got that? He doesn't fancy Haksanabobic, who I always butcher. He doesn't fancy him, so I think that he needs a bit more craft and guile, plus a physical presence up front.
Keith says, taxi for Johnson, enough is enough. He's had enough of Lee Johnson. This is what Brendan Rodgers said to BBC Sports Sound. You play or manage a club like this here, you have to have that personality to gain results. If not, the flack will come your way, and you have to take that and work to make it better. St Johnstone deserves something from the game for their attitude. It was a disappointing result and performance. So that was the comments of Brendan Rodgers after the game, and I think right now a lot of Celtic fans driving away from Celtic Park far from happy with what they witnessed against a team that really should have been cannon fodder for Celtic today in St Johnstone. Great result for Stephen McLean.
Great result for Stephen McLean, St Johnstone, but Celtic shouldn't be dropping points at home at St Johnstone, with all due respect. Celtic turn up when they're on their game. There's only one winner. We spoke about budgets, differences in budgets. Aston Villa to Hibs is astronomical, but the same can apply for Celtic at St Johnstone, Peter.
Yeah, but Celtic, looking at the signings that they've made, a lot of Celtic fans are saying, okay, it's another one for the future, it's another unknown. When are you going to sign those players that realistically they thought Brendan Rodgers was brought back for? Where are the calibre of players coming in that will take them on to the next level? There's been all sorts of nonsense talked about a Ryan Fraser who's on a heck of a lot of money at Newcastle. That was the talk. Kieran Tierney, 120,000 at Arsenal.
Why would the guys want to go to Scottish football?
Exactly, and that's the point here. Now, below that, you've got calibres of players that they should be looking at. Who are they? What type of players should Celtic be looking at, Tam, that you think could come in and get the fans excited?
Peter, it might be somebody that's playing in Portugal or France or Spain. It's not going to be England, because Celtic cannot attract guys that are established in English Premier League. They're on too much money.
Yeah.
Even the English Championship, I think the average wage is 28 grand. And your bigger clubs down there paying more. Hard to attract these guys as well. So you've got to be looking at France, Spain, Portugal maybe, countries like that where you maybe get more value for money. You maybe get a guy that's playing, for a team out with your PSGs and Marseilles, maybe in a mid-table at France or in Spain, and you can pay these guys maybe 20-25 grand a week and they're going to come. But in terms of attracting established Premier League players on Premier League money, even on loan, it's not going to happen. Celtic done it with Jota. They got him in loan, obviously, and then they paid big money for him. Was it £5 or £6 million for Jota?
Yeah.
Reaped the rewards. It sold him on for 25 million. So that's the type of calibre of a player. Is there somebody in a Benfica that's not playing, or a Porto, or a PSG that's not playing, and not quite established, that you can go and get somebody like that? Because the players that they're signing at the minute, from smaller clubs in Poland or Sweden or whatever,
or Colombian,
they're not going to cut the mustard with the Celtic fans.
Well, it's going to be interesting because, quite simply, Joe says this isn't Rodgers' fault. Where are his signings last week of the window, and all the previous management's targets were in with, of course, I think Joe is just saying Celtic need to get the finger out. They need to get the signings in. I think a lot of people now are slowly but surely thinking, okay, wait a minute, the whole landscape of how transfers are done.
The last two results, Peter, have changed everything for me. I think that Celtic fans wouldn't have been too worried about it the first couple of games, because Rangers didn't look up to much and Kilmarnock beat them in the first game. I think Celtic fans would have been quite comfortable going, you know what, we're not quite at it, but the Rangers are poor. I think the last two games, Rangers look as if they're improving.
Yeah.
Celtic don't. I think now you're starting to go, by the way, this is going to be closer than we anticipated as a Celtic fan. I thought we'd have still dominated. Michael Beale signed a lot of players, they've still to bed in. We're not quite at it, but we're still better than Rangers. Would you confidently say right now that Celtic are better than Rangers? You couldn't confidently say that right now.
No.
So I think the last couple of games, there's certainly been a shift in the Celtic fans' attitudes towards both teams.
Yeah, I know you think I've gone early with it, but Rangers, for me, will win the game next Sunday, regardless of who they buy, because you need to bed in.
They've got a tough game during the week, Peter, and it might be extra time penalties.
Yeah,
there's a lot. They might pick up an injury or two to key players. They're a wee bit early. They're a wee bit early, but if Rangers get through, that tie, the confidence they will get from that will be astronomical, and they're playing in front of a packed house at Ibrox.
If Celtic are playing the same turgid football that I'm watching at the moment, Celtic will get trounced. So we might as well give an opinion. The good thing is we'll get it out of you on Friday.
Let me wait and see the Rangers. Let them see how they play in midweek, and
you'll weigh it up then.
Celtic might sign a player or two.
Yep.
I think Celtic sign a couple of players before that game. Surely they've got a week now to do business.
Well, let me tell you this, Tam, if they don't sign a player and they've banked £100 million, there will be Celtic fans
Sharks might
calling for
Sharks.
Yeah, they'll be calling for certain people to be sacked. It's as simple as that. You cannot have that much money and not do something serious in the transfer market. Why, oh why would you bring Brendan Rodgers back if you do not give him the money?
And promises, Peter, and they've certainly not been delivered so far.
It's an interesting one. We will get your thoughts on it as well. You can give us your thoughts on what you think should happen with, of course, Celtic. Let us know. We'd love to hear from you on that. It's going to be really, really interesting. Celtic slip up against St Johnstone, and we still haven't seen or heard from Lee Johnson at the post-match at Hibs. He hasn't showed up. That tells you a lot, Tam. When that
There's two things, Peter. There's one, he's locked his players in the dressing room and he's absolutely slaughtering them. That's one. And two, is he's been taken upstairs by the board and they've said, listen, thanks but no thanks, it's their time's up. That's only two things that I can think of why he's been late for a press conference.
Yeah. Yep, I have to say,
one of the two, Peter.
Yep, I agree with you, Tam. I think this one is going to be a story that is developing. Can Lee Johnson survive tonight after that loss to Livingston? And let's not take anything away from Livingston, because we've constantly been talking about David Martindale and what he doesn't have at his disposal, and how he was trying to get Nubly the move to get money in. The Cup certainly helped him bring in some money. But now...
By the way, they've had a hard start as well, Peter.
I was going to say to you.
They've had Aberdeen, Rangers and Hibs in the first 3 league games. They've picked up 4 points. That's a great return for Livingston, you know, from those games. So David Martindale, again, he's working with nothing, Peter. We've seen him every week, pleading to sell the big boy Nubly. He's going to have him in Gumtree shortly. He's taking anything for him to try and get money in, to try and get, you know, to get his own players in. Working with nothing. He goes to Easter Road today and again, you know, turns Hibs. I remember watching last season before they turned Hibs over at Easter Road as well. So brilliant for David Martindale. A guy doesn't get enough credit, and there's a lot of managers doing all right in a minute. Stuart Kettlewell's doing well at Motherwell as well. Stephen Robinson. So listen, there's no shortage of options for Hibs.
Just a word on Stuart Kettlewell, because that was a big win today, albeit it was a late show, but quite simply, to get a win against a Kilmarnock side that were really starting to look good.
Yep, and listen, I think Motherwell's had a pretty negative week. I think that getting put out of the cup last week against St Mirren, losing the boy Beereth, who they clearly really liked. You can tell he was raging at the boy get injured. He's way back down to Arsenal to get treatment or whatever in his operation. So he's burned money up. He's burned a valuable wage up with that. Great result for them. 1-0 down at home against a Kilmarnock team that's not lost a goal, Peter. You know, if you're in that park and you're a Motherwell player, you're thinking, we're 1-0 down, this team's not lost a goal yet. No, to come back, get the equaliser and then score in the last kick of the ball. Buoyant tonight, jubilant. Motherwell fans, players, manager, jubilant, looking ahead. And the Beereth thing is, hopefully there's no mention in it next week, because he's over it, supposedly.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure he'll have a word to say if he has to try and somehow get someone in there to score some goals. That's the difficult part of it. But nevertheless, what an afternoon of football, Tam. And let's not forget, next week on the Sunday we'll be on right after Rangers against Celtic. I've already given my prediction right now. Have I gone too early? It's Tam.
Very, very early.
Tam reckons I've gone too early.
Your knee-jerk reactor.
Well, I think I've been not bad this season, to be perfectly honest with you. And of course, when you look at the results, here they are for Saturday afternoon. Ross County 0, Rangers 2. Two goals scored by Kemar Roof and James Tavernier. And Tavernier is an absolute cracker. We'll be talking about that on Monday because Neil Lennon will be in with us to discuss that, as well as Celtic 0, St Johnstone 0. And then it was Hibs 2, Livingston 3. What a result for David Martindale's side. And then Harry Payton popped up, the substitute coming on to seal it. Deep into injury time for Motherwell, 2-1 win against Kilmarnock. Tomorrow it's Dundee against Hearts and St Mirren against Aberdeen. I don't know what you've got in the predictor for it, Tam. I've got Hearts to narrowly win
I've
it.
got 2 home wins, Peter.
Have you? I've got 2 away wins.
I went against the grain there. I think there were 2 teams, one tired for midweek, 2 big game to look forward to. I think they might get a couple of upsets.
Yeah, and as the midweek goes, what's your feeling? Because obviously we're going to talk about it in greater detail on Monday. What's your feeling with the Scottish clubs going in to midweek? They'll obviously be looking at injuries and they don't want to pick up any. How do you feel we're going to fare?
I think Rangers might just come up short against PSV. I think they might. Listen, I think it's going to be close. I think that could go to extra time and penalties, which would have an effect on the Celtic game. I think it's going to be very, very close, that game. I think it's going to be small margins, a mistake, a bit of brilliance for Tavernier, a bad decision, whatever. I think it's going to be a very close game, but I think Rangers might come up a little bit short. I hope they get through. I want all the Scottish teams to get through. I think PSV might just edge it. Hearts are out for me. I think that I don't see them going to Greece and winning and beating that team. And Hibs, just keep the score down. I mean, the Hibs fans, we're going down as well. The Hibs fans are going down for a night out, for a bevy. See Aston Villa, get into a nice stadium, same as there's no chance of Hibs getting a result, even on the night. I don't see Hibs winning actually on the night. I think Aston Villa, if they play the B team, it's going to be too strong for Hibs. And will Hibs have the same manager, or will they make a change before then? Who knows?
Yeah, there's a big question to be asked there when you consider the results that we've witnessed today. Of course, Rangers winning that match and setting themselves up nicely for PSV. We will be bringing you all the reaction from that match between PSV and Rangers as well. I certainly hope Aberdeen will have a packed Pittodrie. I think.
Sorry, I forgot about Aberdeen.
I was going to say to you, I think Aberdeen.
I fancy them to get through.
I think Aberdeen will make it into Europa League, which is going to be brilliant for the financial rewards and our coefficient.
Yep, I'd fancy Aberdeen strongly. A packed Pittodrie. They beat this team 2 years ago, 5-1 at home. So they will know that they can do it. Pittodrie will be buzzing. They'll be expecting to win. And I think that Aberdeen will go and complete the job and get through, which would be great. Them in Europa League. The money, obviously, the Conference League is 3-4 maybe, and then maybe double that for Europa League. So for a club like Aberdeen to pick that £7-8 million up would be massive. And again, it's a chance. We spoke about Hearts last season. It's a chance for Aberdeen to cement themselves as that third force. Can you forget the teams behind you and think, can we get closer to Celtic and Rangers? Increase the budget, sign better players. You never know, but there's a chance for them to build on it if they get through this tie. Yeah,
let's hope we've got a situation where we're celebrating. Realistically, our best hopes, maybe 4 out of the 5 when we're looking at European football when we get into the month of September. Celtic automatically into the group stages of the Champions League. The big call will be the draw and to see the mouth-watering matches in the group stages. Rangers, if they can get in there, would be fantastic. Against PSV in midweek, they'll have to win over in the Netherlands. Hibs out. I think we all generally feel that way. I can tell you that Lee Johnson still hasn't come into that press room, and of course real fears that maybe at this point Hibs board may well be chatting to him. Maybe he just doesn't want to speak to the press about that result today when Livingston defeated them by 3-2. But nevertheless, someone is going to have to get that Hibs side galvanised and ready for what could be a torrid 90 minutes at Villa Park. Aberdeen is all set up nicely for a win against Hacken if they can get the Pittodrie crowd behind them and an early goal. Certainly got players that can do it. Miofsky, Duke, Leighton Clarkson's in there. Nicky Devlin popped up with a goal as well. They've got really good players. Hearts, I just wish Lon Shanklin's goal that was called offside was onside.
It's a big moment to tie, Peter.
Yeah.
That puts him 2-1 up. I think if you go over there with a 2-1, if you've something to hang on to, you can play in the break a little bit. I think Hearts have got to win the game, which means they've got to attack and open up. it's a totally different complexion on the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't forget, you can hit the subscribe button on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel if you get a chance. Subscribe to the channel, you'll get unique video content. We've got the Women's Football Show, we've got Straight Talk one-to-ones that I'm doing across the UK. We've also got the Journos, which is proving to be very, very popular, as well as the Football Show. Monday, we've got Neil Lennon as our main man and a new signing.
Have we got him on Monday?
For how long? I do not know. Elsewhere on the Friday on the Football Show, Lee McCulloch is in here in the studio with Ruffy and Tam and myself. We'll be looking ahead to that big match on Sunday, which is of course Rangers against Celtic. And Tam, I'm looking forward to, right after the game, we'll be here with Blair and we'll be taking as many comments as we can right across Facebook, Twitter and YouTube.
Listen, everybody wants to see the reaction after the game. You'll go, you either put the radio on, put the telly on, put the computer on, YouTube. Great, come and speak to us, and we'll give you your opinion in the game. Hopefully, it's an exciting game. We're not talking about referees. We're not talking about VAR decisions, which we haven't really been talking about VAR decisions. Maybe they've upped their game, the referees and the officials. So far, so good. This is a big test for them. First Celtic, first Old Firm game. This is a big test for VAR and the referees. So hopefully, we're talking about a thrilling game, and we're not talking about the referees, but looking forward to it, chatting away, getting reaction, and then we can go straight to our meal at night.
Yeah, absolutely, and have a right good party night out. We will probably not care who wins that match. We know that we're getting the bevy bought for us. Everything in moderation, though. We want to try and take care of ourselves. All that remains for me to say is look out across all our social media, our TikTok, our Instagram, our Facebook, our Twitter, and the website and our YouTube channel, because if you download the app as well, you'll get all the breaking news at your fingertips. We'll have all the interviews from the managers and players from the games today. There are previews from the managers ahead of the games tomorrow, and if you want all that reaction, download PLZ Soccer's app in Google Play and in the App Store as well. That's all to look forward to right across our social media. The big questions that will be coming up on our social media is quite simply what's happening to the Hibs manager. I think it's time to cut ties. Tam thinks you'll get a few more games.
I think it is time to cut ties, I agree with you, but I think you might get a few more games, but there's no smoke without fire. If he's not turned up at the press conference, something's going down at Easter Road.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find out on PLZ Soccer right across our social media channels, and Celtic fans out there, give us your view. You can drop it an email, a message, or indeed record a video. If you download the app, it's all there for you. You can contact us, hit the contact button and record your message, and you'll be on the show on Monday with Neil Lennon. It's as simple as that. Give us your thoughts on Brendan Rodgers' return, the performance of the side against a St Johnstone team that couldn't buy a win in the last 4 games, but they managed to get a point at Celtic Park today. Well done to Stuart Kettlewell's Motherwell. Well done to David Martindale's Livingston. From Tam and myself, Peter Martin, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you on Monday.